Let's rock and roll. Appreciate you guys in here in the room with me and those that are watching on Zoom later on. We are here for customer experience course. Now, I thought of something kind of funny as I was thinking about teaching today and how we're doing an 8-hour class in 3 hours. I look at it this way. Well, I just thought of it this way. Ever see that movie trailer where I'm a movie guy, so sometimes I'll see a movie trailer and I watched it, sometimes a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then by the end of the trailer, I'm like, I just feel like I already watched the movie. Have you ever seen a trailer like that? This is kind of what this is. So the class is the trailer, but it doesn't mean we don't go watch the movie. It doesn't mean we don't go watch or take the full 8-hour course. So when the opportunity ever does come around, you guys see customer experience show up on the calendar anywhere nearby, I highly, highly recommend it. I'm going to be completely open and honest, and it's being recorded. Hopefully, the boss of FBS who got me instructing with the state of Florida doesn't see this, but she probably will. When I first started teaching this class, this is back in 2018 or 19 is when I first started teaching this class, that full day. The first day I taught it, I left it. I'm like, you know what? It just, I know the material, but it didn't quite sit and like, it didn't resonate with me really. It wasn't until the business started to grow and I started seeing myself doing more repeat business for my database and I stopped cold calling for sale by owners and expires that I realized, oh, wait a minute, there's a reason people are coming back to me. I just didn't have like a system behind it that I was using to say, hey, yeah, this is how I make sure I provide a great experience. And then when I brought in my first assistant, same thing. I'm like, well, how do I make sure my assistant provides the same level of experience? It's all up here right now, right? Like we know how to service our people because, you know, it comes natural to us, but it wasn't on paper. It wasn't a system that I could follow, you know, to the T, and I could give to anyone else on the team, and they could also follow it to the T. And then that's when I really realized what the power of the course is. It's really helped make, it's meant to slow you down, think about what your systems and processes are around the customer experience that you provide everybody you work with. Because don't you guys all want to repeat referral-based business? Who wouldn't want that, right? So, so keep in mind, today's the movie trailer, right? We're gonna definitely do the 3-hour version of it, so that's why it's critical we kind of get rocking and rolling. You guys all received this material via email. It was emailed out. Do you not have it?
I do not.
Rose, can you get the material to Celine, please? Marco, Celine, if you can email her the material. I'm gonna also have it on screen so you can follow along with me, so it's okay. Just have a place to take notes. It's a lot to print, so that's why I didn't really have you guys printed. Now, what you have on you, it's kind of like the short workbook version of it. It's not what we're going to cover today. It's more like this, like your homework assignment, if you will. So, you feel free to obviously write on it and do what you like. In the full length class, one of the things that we start off full length class with is what they call the pre-work. And I'll show you kind of the gist of the pre-work. Actually, I don't even have it on here. Yeah, that's fine. So the pre-work it's called the $24,000 lesson. I'll give you a quick summary of it because again, we can't debrief it in this class today. But the 24,000 lesson, it actually comes from a mega agent that's still with KW to this day. This material was written years ago. And the lesson, they call it a $24,000 lesson because ultimately here's what happened. That team took the listing, and within a couple of days, it's actually about a week is what it summarizes. In about a week, the seller terminated. The seller terminated the listing. And of course, the rainmaker, the owner of the team, got a call. And what it came down to is they didn't put a sign out, the for sale sign out, in the time they told them that they would put it out. They didn't put the for sale sign out in the time that they put it out. Now, for probably the agents on that team, they're thinking it's just a for sale sign. What's the big deal? What do you think the customers feel and thinking? This is let down. This is the biggest thing going on in their world. Maybe the for sale sign is not the biggest thing going on in the agent's world, but in theirs it was. So because of that, they terminated the listing. Now, why is it the $24,000 lesson? Well, that's because that's what the GCI was for that deal. Do you think the lesson is bigger than 24,000? How much bigger could it be? All the context from them, all the like potential referrals that they would have got from them. So that's where the real opportunity is. So I didn't include it in the email, but I will send it to you guys because there's a great set of questions that you can, after you read the it's not so much the email, but it's the email that he sent his team. That's what's on there. I'll have it sent to you guys. And then there's a whole series of questions that you can go through. Where we're going to start today is going to be on page 3. Now, because again, I have to cut this down quite a bit. I already have my pages pre-tabbed on paper here to know where we're going to jump. So if you see me jump like 40 pages all of a sudden, I don't think I have that big of a jump. But if you see me jump pages, don't get like, oh my God, what did I miss? I'm highlighting the key parts, right? Chris, I kind of said, this is the movie trailer for the bigger class, what this is. So when you get the opportunity to take the bigger class, definitely do so. So when we jump to page 3, and I'm going to do my best actually to keep along here so that if you don't have the material in front of you, you can follow along. Now, if I don't switch pages here, you just say, hey, pages, so you can have the material in front of us. So let's start with page 3. So it says, why are you here? So I want to hear from you guys. Why are you here today? Not all at once.
Well, I want to be the best agent that I can be.
Okay.
And I do want that repeat business.
Okay. Be the best agent and repeat business. Sweet. Who else? Why are you here?
Refresher for me and to look at new ideas.
Okay. You taken a course before or just in
No.
general? No. Okay. All right, refresher, new idea. What else?
I think you're more effective if you have a procedure in place that you just kind of automatically follow.
Okay. Anything else? All right. So if I can deliver all this, it would be worth your time today?
For sure.
Yeah, okay. Be the best agent, what's that mean? I want to dig into that one real quick.
Well,
How do you quantify that?
I don't know. I was walking my dog today and a lady walking down the street was like, well, your realtor is an idiot. And, I just laughed to myself. I was like, darn it, I wish I had a card. But I think, there's a lot to know in the real estate business. And so constantly educating myself and trying to start to make it all make sense so that I can grow a business out of it. That's what I mean by that.
I like that. Perfect. In the material at the top, it says this course is about the customer experience, of course, and the value and professionalism that you represent and deliver each and every time you serve a customer. Now, it talks about how we're going to get into the 5S model. I'm not going to cover that right now because that's obviously what the bulk of our class today is. If you look at the bottom of that page where it says agent goal and then Keller Williams goal, look at the agent goal. It says here to have repeat referral business because you are known throughout your local market for delivering a stellar customer experience every single time. You guys all want that, right? All right, perfect. So let's work on how we're going to do that. Let's jump to page 6 now in the material. Do you guys have the material from the email?
You know the Wi-Fi transformations?
Marco backwards. I don't know how to spell that unless I actually write it out. Marco backwards, 1, 2, 3.
Not a joke.
No, I don't know how many times I can't do it. All right, so jump to page 6. So this page 6 starts talking about how we're going to be pulling the 5S model and tying it and connecting it to the customer experience life cycle. If you read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, I have it here. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you've read this book or hopefully have it on your desk somewhere in there, you're going to see what's called the customer experience life cycle, and it's actually these steps that you see on the screen here. There are 10 steps to the buyer process, and there are 10 steps to the seller process. And the idea with applying these models today is going to be that, hey, how can I apply the 5-step models into each step of the seller process, into each step of the buyer process? And as we progress through the material, you'll see that at the back of every chapter, and again, I'll show you all this on screen. At the back of every chapter, there's actually like a little homework for you to fill out and work on after class, where you start to implement some of these systems into your business. And I got to tell you, until I actually had a template like this to do it on, I had no idea where to even start. So when I had my assistant, my last one, I told her, let's just start with step 1 and work through every single step of the buyer process and seller process and figure out step 1. So think the first time we built this out, it took me about 9 months to really make it all the way through and say, hey, here's my systems around the customer experience. So don't rush and think you're gonna figure this out overnight, because you're not. I want to share that I'm sad about one thing. I just gotta share with you guys. So my material, I had it from 3-4 years ago, all highlighted, all my notes, all my stories I like to share each step of the way. I lost it in a hurricane. So it's funny because I thought I had it. I was like, oh, it's in my drawer at my house. And I went to go look at that drawer. I'm like, oh, it's a different class. It was for a different one. So I had to literally re-highlight everything. It was a bummer. Yeah, we went through it all. And the point of that is I had some examples in that already like pre-made that I've done. So I could have shown you like a rough draft. Hey, here's how you kind of started. So I won't have that part. I'll have to rebuild that as I go. Hang tight for me. Let me just see here. I see something in the chat. Celine, you got the chat material. She said that it was mailed out. Okay. All right. So on page 7, that's the next page, and we're going to watch a quick little short video. But on page 7, what it talks about is professional agents follow a predetermined systems for procedures, worksheets, and checklists. And then here, just kind of bullet point some of the benefits of having the 5S model implemented in your business. We're going to kick off first with a video, and then we'll go to the next piece here. There's a few videos we'll watch. I did have to cut some of the videos out just for the sake of time. But what I'm going to do is I'll get you guys this link that has all the course videos so that as you go back through, you have access to the videos that we didn't get to watch. So we're going to start off with the introduction to customer experience. Cool.
Don't call me a lead.
Or a transaction.
I'm more than that.
I'm
your
your
customer.
customer.
I expect more than just service. I want an unforgettable experience. An experience that delights me, wows me, exceeds my imagination. My customer experience isn't defined by you. It's defined by me. It's not one size fits all, but personalized to me. I expect you to listen to me, because my point of view is the only one that counts. I'm more connected than ever. And the truth is, my reviews to friends and family can help or hurt your business. The story I tell about you depends on the experience you provide me.
And I will gladly sing your praises because I know you care about me. You're customer-centric and put me first. I trust you because you're reputable, knowledgeable, proactive, and you communicate with me. You do what you say you'll do, and you do it well. You prepare me for what comes next. You check in to see how I'm feeling about your service. You bring value to our relationship and stay in touch even after the transaction. You provide an unforgettable experience. And when I think of real estate, I think of you and Keller Williams Realty.
You hear in that video, what are the 1 or 2 takeaways?
People want to be heard, be listened to, and they want a great experience.
Yeah, what else? What else did you hear? Yeah. But I mentioned it, right? I'm not, don't call me lead. I'm not just a transaction. Yeah. I've seen a lot of agents out there, and there's no judge. I'm not judging anybody. Maybe I am. But there are transactional agents and there are relationship-based agents. They just exist. They are. And what I do know, and I saw it as the market shifted when COVID hit, and then shifted again after that. What I noticed is the agents who were more transactional struggled a little bit. The ones that were more transactional struggled a little bit, and it's safe to say they likely don't have anything in their model, if you will, around the customer experience and how, sometimes they can say, hey, this is how we provide a great one. So on page 8, it goes into what is a customer, or what is customer experience. You can read that top part once you guys need to see it on the screen or you have it in front of you.
The customer's perception of all the interactions they have with us and the value it creates for them. It's the emotions we evoke and our performance against their expectations at the time.
Yeah. Talk about expectations, right? What was the expectation in the $24,000 lesson that I mentioned earlier? That the sign was going to go out in a certain amount of time, and just because it didn't get out, they terminated the listing. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. What else did you pick up from here? On the second line. Emotions that we evoke. I know I wanted to help people when I got into real estate, but I didn't realize I was gonna make them feel all fuzzy and stuff. Like, I didn't realize that's what I had to do. Yet every time we do it, what happens? They love you, they refer you, they keep coming back to you. So you're just gonna get better around creating that fuzzy feeling that people get, right? On the next page, on page 9, there's a couple of questions there, and I do want to have a little bit of a dialogue around this. So on number 2, I'm not gonna hit them all, but I like number 2. So what does a great customer experience feel like to you? Let me get some interacting here in the room. What does it feel like to you?
Smooth.
Well, I was gonna kind of go the opposite of that. And when there is a problem and you solve it, and with as little stress as can be,
Yeah.
it's had a closing like that, lender just like fell apart, but it was like selling had to be in a moving truck for 7 days and everything like that, and I still ended up with a great referral. And I just went to her house party, but it was handling that
Sure.
huge issue for her, ended up being okay.
Yeah. Hey, that's awesome. Anyone else? What does it feel like to you? Think outside of real estate. What was the last thing you guys bought that you purchased, a consumer product that you purchased where you had a great experience? Anyone have an example? Anybody purchased anything recently?
Any good ones lately?
The last one. Well, remember that you just said that, because most people do remember the bad ones, not so much the good ones. I thought of a bad one too as well when I asked the question to you. Mine was from Ford. I had a bad experience. I've been having multiple bad experience at Ford service department. And it's funny, we're going to bring that up later, how every time someone has a bad experience, they're telling a bunch of people.
Right.
I just told you all that Ford is not good.
Right.
Don't go there. What are the most common things? This is question number 4 on there. What are the most common things your customers want? What do you think customers want from you?
Transparency.
Honesty,
Communication.
Communication.
Okay. I like. Say it again.
And still.
I like transparency. I like honesty. Communication. What could that look like though? Could we Is there such thing as over communicating?
yeah.
There is. There isn't. You guys want to fight it out?
I would
What do you think?
communicating more so than, at least for me, the expectations, getting ahead of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna actually hit on that later. It's about setting up what are the next steps at the end of every conversation or interaction you have with either via phone, via email, or via text message. So we'll hit on that too.
A lot of times even just communicating with them when there's nothing going on, but because there's just silence out there, to say, hey, there's nothing new happening right now. That they're like, I really appreciate you letting me know that.
You bring up an awesome point. The last thing you want is them calling you like, hey, what's going on? We all know there's a certain part of the transaction where it gets quiet. Like on the buyer side, as an example, once you're past inspections and appraisal, it's like it just kind of gets quiet.
Right.
And you got to be the one to stay on top of them, or else they think something is going on. Yeah. So good. Page 11. I'm going to start going through this a little bit quicker here because I'm looking at my pacing. Like, I only got now 2.5 hours. By the way, I'm not going to take a break. I'm just going to keep going because of the time. Restrooms are right here. If you're just visiting us for the first time, right behind you guys there in the hallway. Go to page 11. I'm gonna kind of have a little bit of fun with this. So I'm gonna tell you what the myth is. You guys tell me the truth, and there's no wrong. I'll help you fill it in with my answers. But I'll say the myth. You guys tell me the truth. Just shout it out. So customer experience. The myth is that it's defined by you. What's the truth?
Their perception,
So is it defined by
them.
them? So the truth is defined by the customer. 2, it says customer experience. The myth is it starts and stops at the end of the transaction. What's the truth?
Keep in touch with them.
Keep it going. What did you say? Keep it going. Yeah, it's for the lifetime. Customer experience meets the customer needs. That's the myth. What's the truth?
Exceeds.
You got it. It's a one size fits all. That's truth. It's customized every single time. Addresses customer specific issues as they arise.
You want to do it beforehand.
Yes.
They tend to be the same thing.
Yes, exactly. Predict it, you're predicting in advance. Does not happen organically. What's the truth?
It does happen organically. It can happen organically.
It can, but keep going. Does it just happen on its own? You have to be purposeful. Intentional about the experience. The last one says success is based on feelings alone. What's the truth?
Results.
Yeah. Well, you gotta be careful. It is results. Be careful though, because the result could be, hey, we closed successful, yet they never sent us repeat. If they ever do have repeat business or send us referrals, then I would say it wasn't a good result. Or if they never did the testimonial for us, as an example, or a review on our Facebook page. So there are going to be some additional metrics that we're going to give you today as well to kind of determine whether it was successful or not. Good job there. On page 12, let's see here. Yeah, we're almost done with this particular section. So we're going to do one more video here. But on page 12, there's a whole story there from Farmers Insurance. Let me go up on the screen here so you guys follow along. There's a whole story there from Farmers Insurance where they're talking about going stagnant in growth in customers, and they were having a loss of repeat customers. And then they started training their call centers, and there's some bullet point things, some different things that they did that were purposeful. So going back to the truth from the previous page, and the overall result for their example was they increased their more than 50 million return on investment, and they increased their JD Power score just by making some of those changes you see there on the bullet point. What do? They put themselves in the customer's shoes. Pretty straightforward. How would I feel as a customer? What would I was on their shoes? They listen intently to the customer's needs or complaints. Sounds pretty obvious, right? Listen to the concern. What else did they do? They were patient and take their time with the customer. You guys ever heard of commission breath? Say it again.
The worst.
The worst. That's what I just heard. When I read that, I read commission breath. Be patient and take your time with the customer. When I hear commission breath there, it's buy this house now. I need to close on, I gotta pay my mortgage next month, so I need you to buy this house, even though I know it's the wrong house for you and everything's gonna fail in the inspection. They value each and every customer. Don't hang up on a call until the customer feels cared for. These are all pretty straightforward things. Yeah, this is what it took this big company to get a return. So let's watch the quick video on the customer experience economy, because I do like this video. And then we're going to close out this section. Be ready to share a takeaway or two.
If you rate your experience, how do you rate it?
I mean, I thought it was like a 3 out of 5 for me. It's like I said, I mean, in the end, my goal was accomplished, and I got a home which I like, in an area of the city that I wanted to live in, which was one of my top choices. But I wasn't really like wowed by the experience.
Don't you think
in
you
any
should
way?
have been? Do you think you should have been?
I do. I mean, I very much I believe strongly in like the experience economy, and like when you talk about, I guess the millennials or whatever our generation is, I think. a lot more is kind of that experience economy, whether it's a product or a service. It's really about the experience that goes along with it. I don't know. That's just what I liked, and I just didn't feel like I got anything above and beyond. Like it was, you know, it was satisfactory and it did what it needed to do. But it's like I don't think I would refer her to.
And you probably
any of my
wouldn't use her
friends.
again.
Yeah, and I probably
Yeah.
won't use her again. It just didn't.
It
I
didn't,
guess it
yeah,
didn't match.
It didn't connect.
Me. It's like I said earlier. Like I need like an eHarmony or like an OkCupid for
Yeah.
real estate to get that match. I feel like she got me the house that I told her I was looking at, as compared to taking what I said and being like, you know what, like I see what you're saying, but I can get you something better. Like I have more experience than you, which she did. I kind of hear what you're saying. Let me see if I can find something that maybe is better for you. It's more like she said, okay, you want me to do a job, I'll do it for you. And she did it for me. But instead of like maybe taking a little bit of initiative to go above and beyond and be like, you know, I know this is, you know, where you say the areas you want to live and maybe the type of place you're looking for, but, you know, have you thought about this? You know, I've had previous
So she
clients who
didn't
did this.
push the envelope.
Yeah.
All right, what did you guys hear? What did you hear? In the audience. Yeah, a little bit. Why brutal though? He got what he wanted.
Yeah, but it could have been much better, essentially, right?
Yeah,
Opportunity there for sure.
yeah. What else do you guys hear?
You have to kind of figure people out also. You're trying to do the best you can, the best job you found it, good for the customer.
Go deeper.
You know, everything.
Well,
But you
especially for me that doesn't know the area. Somebody's coming to the state and says, I found this on Zillow, I'd like to see this house. But maybe have a backup plan, other things, you know, back tricks. This is the one you said you wanted to see, but I found these, and these, in this area, Maybe like to show you a little bit more than
Well,
exceeding his expectations. He got what he asked for,
yeah.
period.
Well, going along the same lines of that, I hear it all the time now. I met them at an open house. They wanted to see this house, so I just went out and showed it to them. Like, you're an order taker at that point. So I get to thinking, like, what would my last customer say about me? What would your last customer say about you?
you kind of have to do that to back up what's available and compare it, the more you compare it with the things which are what they're looking for, then the more they're gonna learn and give you feedback, and you can.
Yeah. But I really would start thinking about as you go through today and really that video, just kind of summing it up, is like, are your customers saying that you wowed me? Or did you just give me what I wanted? There's a massive difference, and I think sometimes we convince ourselves that because we had the result of the closed sale that we did a great job. That agent from whoever that guy's agent was, probably thinks he or she did an amazing job. It was a she, right? Wasn't. Probably thinks that she did an amazing job. Is that customer coming back though? Because that's really when we're talking about success is that repeat referral business. So in that case, no success. Jump to page 13. 13, 14 are kind of, they go together on page, it up here. At the bottom of that page, you guys hopefully have seen this chart before, the 80-20 principle. On the second paragraph, it says, an article in Forbes magazine describes this as the context of the 80-20 principle, which we are all familiar with. 80% of your company's revenue comes from 20% of your existing customer. 80% of your company's revenue, your gross commission income, should come from your existing customers. Now, if you're newer, your customers, what are we really saying when we say your customer?
Your spirit.
Yeah, your database. That's what we're talking about. 80% of your business will come from your database. So at the bottom, it says, truth, it's easier to keep customers than it is to get a new one. And then on the next page, there's this little chart there, kind of illustrates the same thing. It's a lot more costly to have to go find new customers, yes or no? It is, yeah. You gotta go pay for online leads. You gotta put on expensive, events, maybe possibly, or maybe expensive marketing campaigns, postcards. I mean, there's so many things that we can do to go pick up new customers, but they're gonna cost you a ton of money
And no relationship.
and no relationship. You put those funds into your database, or not even all of that, a quarter of it. And it's gonna be a lot easier to grow your business because you're loving on people that already know you, your existing, customers. I'll have agents sometimes, and I don't know if you guys are on Lab Code Agents. Are you guys on Lab Code Agents, the Facebook group? You guys are, I think I've seen you post on it. Lab Code Agents.
LAB.
Yep, Lab Code Agents. On that group all the time, I'll see things such as, I got $2,000 to spend, where should I put it? Fispos, Zillow, like, where should I go with it? And there's a few, and I love those few that do, they'll be like, your database. Don't put on an event. Don't throw on a pizza party. Don't do multiple pizza parties. Go love on your people that already know you. It's always easier to maintain, to earn their business back, so. That's what that piece is talking about, and let's wrap this piece up. Go to page 16, and we'll go to the next chapter. Go to page 16. I feel like you guys know this, and yeah, let's hit on this. The cost of a bad experience. Oh, okay. What is that?
It's a no bread
Subway?
thing from Subway.
I'm gonna go nibble on that.
Come on.
The cost of a bad experience. Who did I just talk about a second ago that I had a bad experience with Ford? That just went to however many of you are here, however many of you are watching later, and then everyone else in your sphere. You maybe just had a friend buy a Ford or is debating buying a Chevy versus a Ford. What are you gonna say? Well, a friend of mine, he has a Ford and he's had a horrible experience with it. And that's just gonna be a domino effect and continue to roll down. So that's ultimately what it's talking about here, but let's just hit the truths real quick. It says 25% of customers will switch providers after just one negative experience. So 1 of 4 are just gonna go. Could be because you didn't put the for sale sign out. A single customer could share a negative experience 307,000 times in social media. I would say it's even higher than that.
Yeah,
I think that's a little reach.
especially if they Google it.
Yeah, well, especially if you get on TikTok and dance to it, it'll really get out there. 19% will not trust the company after one bad experience. I'm gonna argue that's higher, but sure. 59% of customers say they don't have a relationship with their provider. Think about your database for a second. Think however long you've been in business. Think how many units you've sold. Do you have a relationship with those people? Or would they be the ones answering and say they don't have a relationship with their realtor? Think of that long dramatic pause to I'll give you time to think about that. Do my last few sales. Even if we didn't close, maybe customers we took out and we still haven't closed on them. Would they say they have a relationship with you? All right, we're gonna wrap up this chapter. And we're gonna go to the next chapter. The next chapter is called Know the Customer and Know the Self. And then we'll actually get into the actual steps themselves. So we're gonna jump to page 24. You get us all queued up over here. There we go, page 24. Who can help me reading at the top, please? Know the customer. Top of page 24.
In order to provide an exceptional experience that brings the customer back again, as well as potential referrals, you must have a good understanding of that customer. What unique needs and expectations do they have? Knowing your customer will help bring value to them, provide an exceptional experience, and ensure a relationship that benefits both of you for a lifetime. The root of the word customer is custom.
Yeah, habit is a habitual practice which has the force of law. Therefore, a customer is one who has a habit of choosing you. Jump to page 26. Page 26, and at the top it talks, and we're gonna kind of verbalize it and then we'll get into the information age. It talks about the new shoe experience. Now, again, this material was written a few years ago. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I can't buy shoes online personally. I have to still go into the store and feel it out, because sometimes it's 11.5 and sometimes it's 12, right? Yet in general, what was the shoe buying experience like before versus what it is now? So if you look at it from before, it says you get in the car, you decide which store to visit, you drive through, frustrated with traffic in the mall, you park on the outside of the mall, you gotta walk the way back, it's full, and you finally get into the store, you're tired, probably why you're gonna get new shoes. You walk around looking at shoes, one of the clerk finally gets you, when it's your turn, the clerk heads back to the room to retrieve the shoe, in your size, you try on the shoe, you like them, you pay for them, and you go head out of the store to return it home. Nearly 90 minutes have gone by, but your shoes feel great. I still have to do that one for me. And yet, what does it look like now? You just go on Amazon? Where do you guys buy shoes?
I'm pretty sure the CSW.
DSW, cool. Can you go to DSW online and buy them? Yeah. Where do you buy shoes, Celine? Miss Fancy?
Yeah, in the shoe store at Macy's or Dillard's.
Okay, so you're like me. We still have to go in there and buy them. And yet, many of us, if not shoes, it's something else that we're not buying them online. You guys, I think some of you know my history was a general manager at Best Buy. That's the role I left when I left real estate, or when I got into real estate. Did I love Amazon as a manager at Best Buy? No. You know how many times Amazon has this cable for $9.99? What are you gonna do for me? Or they come in and look at the TV, like, oh, I'm gonna look around, oh, I'm gonna buy it on Amazon. Right? It's funny because now after leaving Best Buy and having to buy products without my store discounts, I shop on Amazon too. I shop a ton on Amazon because I am able to get better pricing. So I finally get the consumer side of it, and yet customers have options. Information is more readily available. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch a video around the information age. And what it does is kind of really summarize what's on page 27. And it's just kind of really walking us through how slow it used to be to get information versus how fast and instant it is right now. So watch that video and we'll go to the next page. Information age. Be ready to share a takeaway or two.
You feel like you had more knowledge on the property before the agent did?
We were finding information elsewhere that she wasn't going to find it, and some of that was...
What sites were you on that you found different property information than what your agent did? Do you know offhand?
I don't.
But you know that you found...
You'd run a variety of different searches with different kinds of keywords to see if something would pop up, and like I was able to find a previous
Keywords
listing.
like what?
Just the property address and just a variety along those lines of you know, add a word, drop a word, try to say for sale, include foreclosure to see if something screwy was there, whatever the case may be, to see if you could find additional photos of the house or some historic information of any sort.
I find the property, I find how much the bank foreclosed on it for. I go to LADBS, LA Department of Building and Safety, and I get pretty much all the records on it, and before I even go to the door and knock on it or step onto the property.
I'm a Yelper, big time Yelper. I Yelped everything. I Yelped the inspection person, the assessor, the mortgage, like anybody that had anything to do with the home. I looked at reviews, and I used homeadvisor.com as well. Like for the termite inspection, I would see who in my area was recommended, kind of like the Angie's List idea, but I used a lot of internet searches for things.
I would be curious to know what I could provide that you would perceive valuable, so valuable, say, wow, they seem to know what they're talking about. I want to choose them to represent me.
For people with kids, I think schools is a major, major thing. I mean, know everything that school has. Know what extracurricular activities they have. Know the programs. Know how the school is and compared to other districts in the state. What makes them stand out.
Any recommendations for other neighborhoods that would meet my needs? Any super secret houses that weren't listed that you knew about, that would be great.
All the things that you can't get online are the things that I want. Don't repeat what's on the website because presumably I did my homework already. Sure. It's those local things that you know by being there that I can't see that are incredibly helpful to me anyway.
Here. What did you hear?
If they're doing their own search and looking for their own stuff, and they expect their agent to bring something other than what they can find on them.
What else?
I have an example. I've worked with a nonprofit a lot, so I kind of get the problem children often.
Oh.
And this
okay.
lady has a mess, and she's looking to sell her property and buy something in a either senior development, or she wants to use this new program called the 202, which is kind of a low income type for people that are elderly or disabled. Right?
Huh.
So when I said to her, I said, well, you know, I think you're best, you've got to definitely figure out where you're going first and this and that. She says, well, you don't know about the 202? I said, well, you know, it's a HUD program, and this is in Broward County. And I said, well, I have worked with nonprofits for 12 or 15 years. I've never heard of this program. She said, so you're just a regular agent, is what she said to me. And I'm telling you, I was like, she must have heard of it. I go, well, I'm not just a regular agent, because I work with all kinds of different programs. But it was that thing, like, I didn't know exactly about that. The reason is, it's not available there. That's why I've never heard of it. But I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. She had all her research done, but she didn't look at the numbers she was looking for. She just knew about it. So.
Better go learn it. Now you know about it. Anyone have a story like that, want to share? Thank you for being vulnerable. Yeah. Wow. Wow. You guys have one? Anyone else have one? You don't want to embarrass yourself?
Right.
No one was embarrassed themselves.
Well, I know I'm about it now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so I wrote about, I'm just writing some notes to remind myself a couple of things I want to hit on. Like when he was talking about don't share information with me that's readily available, I think about, so I wrote tag knowledge. Back in the Best Buy days, there used to be, I think it was called Brand Smart, one of those stores that was down like Miami area, like South Florida. And long story short, they were a competitor with Best Buy, and they shot a commercial. Maybe it was a different company, I don't remember, but they shot a commercial that was clearly, you know, when you know, okay, that's a Best Buy, or hey, that's a this store, that's a Walmart, but there's no branding. It was one of those type of commercials, so you can clearly tell the guy was in khakis, blue shirt, Best Buy. So the guy is like shopping there for a computer, and the guy basically is reading the specs of the computer as the customer shopping. It's like, I can do that myself. I can read the tag. What information about the computer, what information about the home can you provide me that I can't easily find? So, and I'm not looking for an answer here. I just want you to reflect, like, what are you really like? What are you an expert on? Like, what do you put your stamp on? Like, what can you say that when buyers or sellers work with you, they should work with you because this is the value you bring, this is the knowledge you have. It's maybe it's programs as an example. Maybe it's schools, like you guys are in North Naples. And I know everybody raves about schools in North Naples. You could put your stamp on that. What is your stamp? I'm not asking, I just want you to reflect. I'm looking for anything. Just want you to reflect, what are you putting your stamp on? So, I'm going off track a little bit here. Hopefully proving a point or getting to a point. I remember when I started, one of the things I struggled with is that my niche, not I want to say my niche, I'm sorry, my sphere was Lee and Collier County. That meant I could be selling 1 month a home in Lehigh, then I could be down in Marco or Naples the next day. So it was very wide. I didn't really have a customer segment or a niche or anything that I could say like, this is what I'm good at. It was always like 30,000 foot view, and it's like anybody can make it. Like it was just, I help everybody. If I were to restart, I kind of tend to ask myself, would I make a niche? Would I narrow in on a certain area, a certain focus? It's just something for you guys to think about. I know agents in Marco, I know agents in Naples. I know one agent who, if it's basically east of 75, they won't even go. I know an agent who, if it's over the bridge, they won't go. That, if you had that level of, I'm not saying it's bad if you don't have that level. I was about to say focus. That's not about, I'm not saying it's a bad thing if it's not that narrow. Yeah, and I think being an expert, let's say, going back to your example, how you guys are in North Naples, if I wanted to be the expert of North Naples in the schools, it'd be a lot easier to say that, you know, hey, that's your main focus. But when you now serve or the acres, it's a little bit harder to get to that level of expertise in that very market. So I don't know. How do you figure it out? Do you figure it out based on, let's see where the bulk of your business comes from in 24 or 12, 24 months and go from there? I don't know. I remember one year I posted on social media a picture of my truck, my mileage on my truck, and I only had it a year, and I was already at 47,000 miles. And so realtor from up north says, sounds like you need to narrow your focus. That's what it said to me. Because I almost posted like it was kind of like bragging, but it's not bragging. It was like, dude, you're all over the place. Figure it out. Makes it easier to be the information specialist. Page 28, 29. So on 20, so 28 is the sample. We'll go through that here in a second. And page 29 is a blank one for you guys. So this is something essentially homework for you guys to take with you. And it talks about the value of the customer. I'm going to go super fast here because many of you have probably recently been through a similar exercise like it. But let's look at the top first. It says at the top, if you do not realize the value of repeat and referral customers, you are missing the boat. You guys are going to laugh at these numbers here, but let's just kind of go with it. Bullet point number 1, it says the average person moves on average every 10 years with an average home price of $259,100. That was the part that you guys are going to laugh at. I don't have the case anymore. Follow along. Bullet point number 2, the typical realtor earns 29% of their business from repeat and referrals. Typical realtor earns 29% of their business from repeats and referrals. Let's look at some quick stats here. It says for buyers, 90% of buyers said that they would use their agents again. How many did? Well, why so low?
They didn't stay in front of them.
Yeah. That opportunity for all of you? Well, go for it, Celine. What do you got?
Well, I was gonna say that I feel a lot of customers
Say it again.
like in my sphere of David's friends and so forth, I've bought and sold so many properties, you know, I know what I'm doing. I sell my own homes, you know, whatever. And so I that's part of that. 12%, like they you know, they've done it before, they've listed, they've sold, they've moved, they've listed, sold, they bought something for their grandkid, whatever. So sometimes, I mean, I feel in my group that I'm less experienced than people, you know, that have bought and sold and flipped and bought and sold again.
So you said number also is affected by if people move to different areas, they're not gonna use an agent.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a different price range.
There is some of that. But here's what the stats covering is. It says 98% would. I've already transacted with you. 90% said they would use their 9 out of 10, but only 12% are. Could it be that it was relocated? Yeah. They're using somebody. They're using somebody, it's not you.
Either way.
Yeah, they're using somebody, it's not you. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole right now, but trust me, no offense, but if you dig deeper into this group of doors, they're transacting with somebody. Just not you. So don't let that story be the story.
You still want to be friends.
Yeah. Sellers. By the way, guys, these stats all came from there. They are. Sellers said they would use the same agent again. 27% did. Still gap of 59%. So go to the bottom of the chart. It talks about the 20-year value of a single customer. In the homework you're going to do, that's on page 29, that you're going to do on your own, it's a 30 years you're going to go through. And you're going to use today's number when you go do it on your own. So use today's average price point. We'll just, for the example, do what's on paper here. So it says that person buying a home for first time would be buying a home for $259,100, and there's your 3% commission on the right-hand side. 10 years later, because they're saying on average now, that average has also even gone down. Really, it's more like 7 or 8 years now, and the last couple of years, it's been 2 to 4 years probably. I think you're going to see people stay put more a little bit longer now, but so the home had a 30% increase, which is 3% a year. So you guys get that. It's 10 years later, 3% a year increase. Now it's worth $336,830. There's a 3% commission when you sold it. Generally, they're upsizing, so they're going to see a 25% increase on average of the price of the home they're buying. So 421, there's your commission on the right. 10 years later, again, they're buying that, selling that second home. You're seeing that 3% increase again, and they're now upsizing again, 25% increase in the purchase price. They're now at 684, 185. Now, when you go home and do it on your own, and you go to year 30, you can decide. Maybe they're downsizing now. Maybe you can play the number backwards. Maybe they're going to downsize. But what we know is we're going to see appreciation. And we know what it's going to be over a 30-year period. In this example, it's 20 years. What is the value of this customer? This example. $67,455. Has anyone done this exercise in the last year that remembers what the number is? I'd love to hear it from you guys over the next couple of days when you do yours. What is the life cycle, probably the lifetime value of your customer?
I'm just getting ready to list the 5th time per customer.
5th time.
5th time.
Different properties? That's awesome.
Yeah.
How long?
So it'd be interesting to look at that.
Yeah, how long have you known them? Wow.
So 10 years, 11 years, 12 years.
5 times. And what's not being calculated here? What's not being being accounted for in this example?
Referrals.
The referrals. It's not taken into account, the referrals.
Yeah, they refer everybody to me.
Yeah. So, if you're watching this on video, or you're in the room with me right now, when you ask me about should I buy the Zillow leads and should I buy this and that, I'm going to tell you to go back to this. And you figure out where it makes most sense to invest your money. Your people or the people that don't know you. All right, on page 30, let's see here, I'm looking at my time. Page 30, I'm going to have you do on your own. On there, let me just kind of walk you through what's there. There's an example that you'll see. Let me put it up on screen for everybody watching later. You'll do this on your own. The right-hand side where it says your results, that's your numbers, we'll just do the example. We'll walk through that. So this one just goes over the value of the database. We're looking at a 1,000-person database, 1,000 people database. That's step A. If you are seeing 29% of your business come from the repeat side, the referral side, well, what does that mean numbers-wise? Well, 29% of 1,000 people is 290. 290 people. That's your repeat business. Then your referral business, another 29%. That's another 290. You have total repeat referral business potential of 580,000. I'm sorry, 580 units. 580 units times the value of your customer, which they're just taking the number from the previous step. And that's going to give you the value of your database. I'm going to remind you guys right now that your for sale signs, your lock boxes, your flyers, your little brochure holders, your little business card holders, your riders, your little signposts, they're not worth anything. They're not worth anything. The value of the business that you have that you can potentially sell one day is the database. What are you guys hearing me say?
Database.
If you're building most people build a business the one they maybe sell it, or maybe handing it off to kids, right? That's usually what you hear people say. I want to leave my business to my kids, or I'm going to sell it, make millions, and move on to the next business venture. In our business, it's the database and the relationships you have with it, are the valuable piece of it. I think I've shared this with some of you in the room. I'll just kind of quickly go through it as an example. I had somebody one time try to sell me their database. They wanted me to, I think it was $9,000 or $10,000. I think it was $10,000. I think it was like $10,000 that they wanted me to pay them up front, and then 30% referral fee for 3 years. That's what it was gonna be. And at first, I'm like, the 10,000, I don't know how I feel about that part, but I need to ask some more questions. What is coming with that 10,000? Maybe there's some furnitures and other different additional things, but it's not worth much. Maybe there's some lock boxes that are worth 1,000 a piece coming with it. I don't know. I didn't ultimately end up buying it. I was okay with it. Okay with the referral fee. The reason I didn't buy it though, and I actually even told them, hey, take away this 10,000 and I'll buy it. The challenge was they were just names. They were online names.
Right.
There were no relationships with them. So it was worth nothing to me. I'd just go spend $1,000 on my own, do a bunch of Facebook ads and get the same amount of people's contacts in my system.
Right.
Because there was no relationship with those individuals.
Wow.
So think about that as you're building your database out. All right, let me see here. Let me pace myself, see where I'm at. I'll make sure we're all good on time. I'm gonna skip these two parts. 31 and 32, look at it on your own. It's just going through basically what customers say they're looking for in an agent and what the customers are saying isn't important for them. And it's giving you a percentage. So if you kind of wondering, hey, well, what are customers looking for? That's where it is. Jump to page 33, because this one now starts to get into you. It starts getting into what's your story. And I love this question here. I'll walk you through it. I'm going to give you a nice long dramatic pause. So imagine your customers at a party talking about their recent experience working with you. What is the story they are telling about you? What do you want them to tell? Think about this a second. What are the customers saying about you? Just closing a deal last month with them. What are they saying? Anybody want to share? Anyone not sure? Now that we're going back thinking about it, oh, I think I did good, but now I'm not really sure if I did. I've had it happen, guys. There was a lady, trying to think her name now. It was 2018. Ruth. Yes, Ruth. I met her through a referral from somebody in my database. And we transacted, we closed San Carlos Park. This is before Ian. So Ian was, I'm sorry, Irma, Irma. Irma was 17, yes. So it was before Irma. And she wanted a house that had a very private backyard. So in her eyes, we're going into the backyard, man, trees, like you can't see the neighbor behind you because there's so many trees. If you guys know San Carlos Park, it's quarter-acre land. So essentially we needed a house with a fence. The house hopefully not sitting too high where you can see down on the property and a bunch of trees. It's exactly what she got. The house was not new. It was like an 04, 05, 06 build right around that time. And we got her a home warranty because we were concerned about the appliances and the water heater. They were not newer. So I got her home warranty, and she was very ecstatic about that. Hugs at the closing. She's from the islands as well, Jamaican. So it's just like, you know, Spanish people again, like a little kiss on the cheek that we do, that whole thing. It was like, wow, this is like my new best friend. I'm gonna get some referrals from her. She ghosted me, and come to find out through the lady who I bought the home warranty through, like, hey, yeah, she bought this home warranty, but she literally just bought all new appliances instead of, because one of the things started not working. Instead of using home warranty, she got frustrated and replaced all the appliances. Then Irma came, and Irma, what do you think it did to the trees? Leaned them against her house. This is the first home, by the way. The lady was close to her 50s, and it's her first home. So she's not used, she used to calling the landlord, hey, the trees fell over, come fix it. So she was pretty overwhelmed, stressed out. And I didn't get to know this in the moment. I found out from that friend that sent me the referral, like what actually happened. They're the ones that told me. And ultimately, she tied the negative experience that she was having in the house to me. She saw me as the enemy, if you will. Like I was her negative trigger. So you just never know. I literally left thinking, wow, this is gonna be my new best friend. Like I'm gonna have so many referrals over the next couple of years from this lady, from her job, things like that, and it did not pan out anywhere near close to that. So go figure. at that moment in time, I wasn't surveying people and doing reviews the way we're gonna teach today in class, so that probably maybe would have been an opportunity for me to catch that issue. Jump to page 35. On page 35, it starts getting the rest of this chapter where it's called staying relevant. In there, it goes through these 3 steps. It talks about knowing your market and demographic, knowing preferred communication styles, and knowing your value proposition. I kind of want to go through a couple of these here quickly. With knowing your market and demographic, there's some questions there to get you thinking. How is knowing your market and demographic important to the customer experience? How do you guys think it's important, knowing your market and demographic?
Well, if they come out of town, they don't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of stuff they're looking at, so it's older stuff.
Older, not even on the market.
New.
Yeah.
New stuff, that the market's changing, especially.
Yeah. Let me go back and just ask the question a little bit different. What are you guys doing right now to stay relevant in the market? Because we know we have to do 14 hours of CE every 2 years, which we learned so much in that. I just did mine in 2 hours. Did you guys do the same thing? It takes like 2 hours to do it. You go to Larson, click, you're done. So outside of the 14 hours of education that we're doing, how else are we staying relevant?
Well, I do Popeyes, I visit my customers
Mm-hmm.
every holiday.
No, we're talking about nurturing relationships there. I'm talking about how do you stay relevant, sharp as a realtor, knowledgeable.
So
What do you do?
like this.
All right, so come to class and
Knowledge.
Got a neighbor every day. Statistics, the summary statistics.
So you on the website?
Inspire. Stimulation. This team versus expired versus sales, and then is people do the price for the product. To give me enough knowledge, the content I have in mind, pictures, the area.
Learn, yeah.
Some feel of pricing and what prices down, and saying we know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. So I don't even know if that was intentional that you're prospecting expires, but in the process of doing so, the byproducts, now you're learning the market. Right? How else are you guys staying sharp on top of the market and learning it? How else? We're not learning the market? Previewing homes or open houses? When you go to open houses, you're probably exploring the other open houses in the area. You're getting to know new communities. I always use this example when I went into a community for the first time and they asked me where the pool is, and I had no idea. I had to pull up satellite view of the community I was in and figure out, is that the pool for this community? Because I had no idea. I didn't prep myself. After you do that a few times, hopefully you don't do it a few times, but when you do that, things like that a couple times and you kind of kick off not knowing, you realize we need to be a little bit more sharper. If I, for example, I'm going to go show some properties in Golden Gate City, I'm just using that example, could be Marco, could be anywhere. I'm not going to say I'm going to show 10 homes, right? We're in a buyer's market now, so there maybe is 10 homes that might be worth seeing. Am I going to do a CMA on each one before I go on the appointment? No. But am I going to peek get a rough idea? I'll peek. I'm not going to go full depth like I will for a seller or when we're ready to actually write an offer. But I'm not going to also get caught with, hey, Jordan, what do you think this house is worth, and not be able to speak to it a little bit. Because here's what they know. Remember, they're doing that. Remember, we were talking about the information age. If we're going to Golden Gate City, if we're going to Marco, if we're going to Fiddler, they've already looked at the past sales. They already know it. Up to this point, we're just the Uber driver. We're not the Uber drivers, but you get what I'm saying. We got to come to them with more information than they have. Or else we are the Uber driver. So, number one, stay sharp, guys. We've got to make sure that you're learning the market and your demographic, the customers you're serving. On page 36, it starts getting into, cue it up here, and we're not gonna go deep here. I just want you to know what's all in here. On page 36, 37, it talks about knowing preferred communication styles. That's simply knowing how do your customers like to communicate. Are they assertive individuals who make decisions easily? What else does it say? It says they determine, they're persistent, they're direct, they're quick to move forward, to solve problems, they have a clear sense of direction. That type of individual, I need to be very direct in my communication with them. Or am I approaching that individual in a sociable way? Because if they're not sociable, that would be a pretty bad idea. A sociable individual will be somebody who's socially confident, diplomatic, tactful, practiced communicator, wide circle of friends and contacts. Do we communicate with them a little bit different? Yeah.
This is like the disc.
This is the DISC personality assessment is exactly what it is. I think it actually at one point used to actually use the term DISC. But it's a Tony Robbins thing. I think at some point we had to pull it out of the material. But I remember when I started KW, that's how I started learning it, was using the term DISC personality. You got to know your customer's preferred communication style. Is it going to be different every customer? You got to learn how to deal with all of them. You got to learn how to deal with all of them. I'm more on the assertive side. And whether you guys believe this or not, let me backtrack. When you take the assessment, there's the natural state, then there's your adaptive state. Basically, who are you naturally and who are you when you adapt? Pretty simple, right? Sociably, for me, my adaptive state is really low. I'm sorry, my natural state. My adaptive state is high. What does that mean? Naturally, I don't like to socialize. Like right now, would you guys say I'm in my adaptive state? Totally. Now it's more comfortable. Now I am a really social person, especially after I get to know you. But if I don't know you and I'm just going into a brand new environment, I'll give you an example. When I went to my first family reunion, it was in California, my first KW national event. And when I went, I remember I'm naturally just not sociable. Unless I knew you, I was just in my little corner, taking my notes. Going through the hallway, I wasn't purposeful, like, oh wow, you're from New York. I'm looking to meet New York agents. I didn't do any of that. That was hard for me, right? So you got to understand how you operate, and then you also have to understand what all four styles are, so that you can adapt to people who are in that side. So for me, I struggle with highly sociable people. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to get to the point. They want to socialize. We got to pick up on that with the customers we're working with. Anyone have a story or an example there, or whether you clashed with somebody just because you weren't quite aware of the communication styles? You got one?
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
You're like,
So yeah,
give us the.
I'm social and bubbly and.
What'd you do?
I have a.
What did you do? It's
really in my database, but business owner, very, I'll call him and he'll be like, get to the point. Like, I had to go through this and I went there and this happened. He goes, what are you trying to do? Just get to the point. They're like, well, the point is what happened. It's not just the end result, it's the journey. So he's like, he's just sharp. So I have to like stop the journey and just get to the point when I'm talking about that. Sort of. Person. Yeah.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah.
That's a good lesson because I know you as a highly sociable individual. Now they're teaching you like, wait a minute, I got it. So hopefully this is resonating with you a lot more now.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about me.
Right.
Who determines the customer experience? Me.
Customer.
And right now, I'm going to tell my friends, she's slow. It takes way too long to get to the point. Time waste. I was trying to play golf and she just kept talking.
Well, just to bounce on that, I know I have a hard time with the chairs. They want just the facts. And I'm like, but all these other things, they want facts. Or IT people. So they're not good customers for me.
Yeah. Interesting way of saying that. They're not great customers for you. Yeah, you take them.
Well,
Of course.
but I'll switch, you know, how I deliver information.
Yes.
They don't want the flower story.
Yeah.
They don't want to know about my other customers that live in this community and love it because of this.
They sure don't.
They
They sure
want
don't.
numbers and,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep, good,
Gotcha.
good. Go to page 38. I know you're gonna have some homework here. 38, where it starts getting into knowing your value proposition. And then on the following page, it gives you some examples of different top agents of value propositions that they've written down on their presentation. So for example, on page 39, with the second one, I'll just read the second one, it's shorter. It says, our goal is to be informative and helpful. We hope to earn your business with our exemplary level of service and an extensive local knowledge of our area. The third one says, we use our expert advice, local neighborhood knowledge, and up-to-date market data to achieve successful real estate outcomes for our clients on a daily basis. Down at the bottom says, there's another one there. These are one-liners. How to change the way you think about real estate. Prompt professional service is our guarantee. We sell more because we do more. Innovation, determination, and a cutting-edge team approach. The question here you got to answer is, do you know what your value proposition is to your customer? Buyer or seller? And it can be the same. It can be the same value proposition you leverage on both. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and create a new one for each one. Yet I know some people that have one for each. On page 40 and 41 is going to be a little bit of homework for you to help you with that. So 40, 41, there's some questions there that you can kind of do out on your own. Again, normally 8-hour class. This usually we take about 10 minutes just to do this together as a group, but obviously we don't have that time today. So 40, 41, do that on your own. On 41, it's gonna give you the spot there once you do what's on page 40 to hopefully start coming up with your value proposition for sellers and buyers if they're different. Any question on that? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna get into the 5 steps. So good on time. Just a reminder again, those that came in, I'm not taking a break. I'm just going straight through to 4 o'clock. If you gotta step out for any reason, go ahead and step out. I am recording this for the purpose of having it in our library. Material you on screen with, and it was emailed to you as well if you RSVP'd through the Google form. Okay, let's keep going. We're gonna go to chapter 2, which is technically now step 1. So everybody go to 46. I'm gonna go to 46 here real quick. All right, so we're all on page 46 and we're gonna watch a video here in a second. I just wanna read off the top here for you. It says the first step of the 5S model is delivering a great customer experience. In delivering a great customer experience, it's to set expectations at the beginning of the relationship. The goal is to set the proper expectations so there is congruency between where the customer is and where you are. Set expectations you can meet and exceed, then communicate to your customer what you did. We used to have a thing at Best Buy, predict, prove, confirm. It was the model that we used for when we demo like a TV and a sound system. So we predict what they were going to experience. We prove it by doing it, and then we confirm, hey, did I deliver? Or did the sound quality deliver on what I said we're going to experience? So you can think about almost predict, prove, confirm as part of this here. We're gonna, the rest of this, so we're gonna watch the video, but the rest of this, we're actually gonna walk through what you guys see on screen here. So we're gonna walk through these 3 steps: setting your value proposition, listening to your customer, and seeking agreement. Let's kick off first with the video. Hold on. This one is the buyer consultation video. Be ready to share a couple takeaways.
Hi, I'm Nikki Ubaldini, and I've been in real estate for about 25 years in the Tampa Bay area. Been with Keller Williams since December of 1998. Now we're going to talk about the buyer's consultation. Let's start with the overview. First, know your scripts. Know what you're going to say, when you're going to say it. Second, make sure you educate yourself. Know what's happening in the market, know the price differentials, how short sales work, and how REOs work. Third, never book your appointment out further than 48 hours, preferably 24, and always confirm that appointment. Fourth, never do research ahead of time. Many of you think it's important to be prepared, But what you're going to discover through the consultation is what they've told you on the phone is not really what they want to see. And last, always have a buyer's book that gives them the overview of the process so that they have something to take away. Now it's time to go through the buyer's consultation. But first, always ask for permission. Remind them, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I know this isn't your first home. Would it be okay if we spent a few minutes to go through the buying process so that we both know what's going to happen when you work with me, just to make sure we're both on the same page? Would that be okay? Typically, every buyer says yes. So you start at the top. 1, you talk about what's going to happen behind the scenes, the research, how long it might take, and how you're going to weed out those properties and only show them the best of the best. Next, you're going to talk about how you're going to show them property, and that the average buyer won't see any more than 8 to 10 properties before they'll make a decision. Next, make sure they understand what's going on in the market. Many times they've heard about this seller's market or buyer's market, and they don't really understand what it is. But what they do need to know is that great homes sell in every market, and they sell fast. And they sell close to the asking price if they're priced right. Now, don't forget to talk about short sales and the time that it might take to make sure they truly understand what they're getting into. Also, REOs are very intriguing until they understand that they might take a little sweat equity in the end. So spend some time going over those two properties. Now it's offer time. Make sure you let them know that you're going to help them make an educated decision on what to offer by doing a market analysis that shows them exactly what's happening in the market so they can feel comfortable about the price they're paying. And finally, they've bought it. Their contract was accepted. And now they need to know that really that's when our job starts. We explain to them there's inspections, there's appraisals, and all the different things that are going to happen between now and the closing table, including the review of all the documents prior to their closing. Now we're going to go over the needs analysis. We're going to start with what we call the TENS process. So we start with the transaction and we say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we're going to talk about the transaction. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning it's not very good, and 10 meaning it's a great experience. What one thing has to happen for it to be a 10? The next process we're going to talk about is on the home. And we're going to make sure that each person knows that they're only going to get 3 must-haves. So the 10s will consist like this. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, on a scale of 1 to 10, what one thing does your new home have to have and or be for it to be a 10? And then say, why is that important to you? And describe for me what you mean. What this does is it helps us stop assuming. Once we've finished with the 10s, we want to take them through the expectations. We want to find out, how does somebody win with them? Then, how does somebody lose with them? Then we want to do an assumptive close and say, what do you feel you have the right to expect from me as your realtor? And then we ask them, what do you feel I have the right to expect from you as my client? When you do the expectations correctly, you're going to discover that loyalty, honesty, and sincerity are some of the most important things that your customers are going to want. And interestingly enough, this allows you to end your consultation with a buyer's agency agreement, or what I like to call the agreement of loyalty. This allows you to go into a true relationship with the customer that you're both committed to. We've now finished the entire process of the buyer's consultation. Remember, this process should take about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on your customer's questions. For those of you that are watching this video, make sure that you're out there and you're practicing, because you know practice will make you perfect. And if you're practicing outside of meeting with the customers, that's the best thing. Because if you aren't, who are you practicing on? The customer. And that is a little expensive, isn't it? I am Nikki Ubaldini, and I wish you all the luck in all your buyer.
Some of you may have seen that video before. What did you hear? There's a reason I walked, I mean, that's one of the longer videos in this. What did you hear from Nikki? We're talking about step 1 of the process, setting expectations. What did you hear from Nikki?
Know your product.
Your product, what do you, well, the homes you mean? Okay.
Your product or your scripts or be prepared.
Yeah, I actually wrote that one for your scripts. Know your scripts, know the conversation you're gonna have. Yeah. I wrote down, she has a pretty clear process. Step-by-step process of what the buyer experience is gonna look like. And she asked, I wrote it down here, she asked for permission as well. Hey, I know you bought your friends, I know you bought 10 homes. Let me take you through the process so I can bring the value that I'm gonna bring to you at each step of the process. So I can show you how I'm different. All right, so ask for permission from those experienced buyers. What else? Setting expectations. What else did you hear from Nikki?
Don't assume anything.
Tell me more.
What you think they may want or need is not actually what they want or need.
Yeah. That's actually going to transition us here in a second to the second step with listening to your customers. Let's look real quick before we do that to page 47, 47 and 48. So 47 starts going about presenting your value proposition. That's what we worked on in the previous chapter. Remember the homework? The part of the homework is you figure out what is your buyer and seller value proposition, and then this is where you would be presenting it during your presentation. If you don't, here's what I'm gonna tell you guys. If you don't have one right now, like there's some in some classes, we're like, hey, everybody stand up and give me a 30-second elevator speech. We're not gonna do that, but if you were to do that and you don't know what you would say, do the homework. I mean, even if you do know what you're gonna say, do the homework. It's just gonna help you kind of come up with something, because everything else becomes a lot easier. Like when we get to you're gonna see this is the first chapter, that in the back of the chapter, there's gonna be like your blank templates for you to start filling out. I think it's hard to kind of fill them out if you don't know what your value proposition is. If you don't know what your value proposition is, it's gonna be very difficult to do these steps. So I would start with that piece before, and if that takes you a month to figure it out, it's okay. If it takes you a month to figure it out, that's okay. But start there before you get into the homework that's at the end of this particular chapter. All right, so if you present your value proposition, go to page, let's see, I'm gonna jump to 49. Go to 49. On 49, it says, position yourself as a trusted information source that educate the customers on the process and what comes next. It's kind of what Nikki's talking about, just walking buyers and sellers through every step of the process so they know exactly what to expect from you. When you don't have the answer, have a script for that. So I'm not sure, there's a little script there for you. I'm not sure, but I can find out and get right back with you. Does that work for you? It's pretty straightforward, right? Nothing too crazy there. Go to the next page, on page 50, and now it starts talking about listening to your customer. That goes back to what you were saying about not making assumptions. Really get to know your customer. So at the top, 50, it says, who helped me with what's the truth? Truth. Somebody read that for me real quick.
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
You do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. Always seek first to understand. Pay attention to what they're saying, how they're saying it, what they actually mean. What they're saying, how they're saying it, and what they actually mean. A lot of times we'll see a buyer say something like, "Oh, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with a 2-car garage. Like, and I need a yard to have some space. I need some yard space as well." Well, what does that mean? And how would we dig deeper? What does that mean? I need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 2-car garage with a yard. What assumption could we have made that would not be a good assumption? What assumption would you make if I said that to you, Chris?
I was gonna say, I'd elaborate on that. How big of a yard? No condo. Yeah.
No condo. Yeah, that's one assumption. So I'm gonna make that assumption, no condo. But maybe there could be an option for condo. Maybe I want that yard because I needed dogs for my little wiener dog. Sorry, is that PTSD right now? They got a little wiener dog, that's why I said that. That apparently they're a little stressed out. So maybe it's because of that want the yard. Maybe the community that is the condo has a dog park with walkways. So you see how if we make assumptions and we don't really listen and dig and ask questions and probe, we can make the wrong assumptions. Then it makes it difficult to deliver on the experience that we're hoping to deliver on. So it's key that we're really listening to what they're saying again, how they're saying, and digging deep into what they mean. Because sometimes, again, if I would have made that assumption, then we would have missed maybe a great opportunity at a property because of that. Or it's I want a yard. It's realistic. I want to be able to park my boat in my RV and set a yard. It's not because I have a dog. We maybe thought dog right away because, hey, I have a dog. Or maybe I have kids, but maybe they have kids. That's what it is. No, I just didn't want to put my RV. Right? So it's critical that in the buyer consultation that we're actually digging pretty deep into that. All right, jump to page 52. Page 52 talks about asking for preferred communication method. The number one complaint customers have is that they, it's queued up here, so everybody who's watching online. Did I say 52? Yep. The number one customer complaints, customers have is that they do not get enough communication from other agents. We do not communicate the same with everyone, so customize it for each customer. You gotta ask your customers how they want to be communicated with during your consultation. How and how frequently. One time, this lady, it's kind of funny. So a lot of it was a for sale by owner when I first started in 16, and a lot of our communication was via phone. When we first started. And then when we got on the market and there was showings and feedbacks and, hey, I'm doing an open house and things like that, I continued to call her for those things. And a lot of times she wasn't picking up, call me back, or she would just text me. Yet I kept calling. And then one day she finally going, I forget her exact choice of words. They weren't mean. She wasn't rude about it, but she's like, hey, unless you have an offer, don't call me. She preferred for me to just text her anything I wanted to let her know. If it wasn't an offer, don't call her. So eventually that kind of led me to start asking those questions like, hey, how do you want to be communicated with during the consultation process? So that I can make sure I'm matching and meeting her or him, wherever they are. So make sure to ask that. Jump to page 54. 54 now starts getting into seeking agreement. So kind of sum up what's happening in step one, because it goes fast here. I'm going to jump a little bit and then we'll come back to 54. In step one, on page 46, I'm sorry, it talks about setting an expectation. The first step being present your value proposition. And it talked about listening to the customer. And where are we now? Jump to page, where did we leave off? 54?
What's number one?
Present value proposition. Yeah, present value proposition, listen to customer, and then seek agreement. Bullet pointing here, what's happening all within step one, which is setting expectations. So with seek agreement on page 54, I'll just jump to that. It says here, the third component of setting expectations is to seek agreement with your client. You've made your complete presentation, you've listened to their customer, their needs and concerns, and you're ready to agree and get a contract signed. You're coming together here and agreeing and setting mutual expectations around a win-win. So watch for reaction from your customers as you go through the process of setting expectations. What vibe are you getting from them? Is there a connection or is there not? You know, I've always used this line, you know, part of our meeting goal or our outcome for the meeting today is either you're going to hire me as your agent, you're going to not hire me as your agent, or I'm going to keep going as a customer. That doesn't happen often, and yet sometimes, you know, one of my big goals is to meet and exceed people's expectations, your expectations, and if I feel like I can't do that, I'd rather let you down now than let you down later. Honestly, I think that line comes from Ignite way back then. I took it in 16. That's when I think I learned that particular script. So you're getting agreement on all the expectations you set. You presented your value, you've listened to them, you're getting now agreement to work exclusively with each other. From there, let's see here where we are. We're gonna jump to 57. So let me show you kind of what you're gonna do for your homework here. Jump to page 57. Let me put it on screen for everybody. Remember earlier, I mentioned when we started that from the MREA book, there's 10 steps to the buyer process, there's 10 steps to the seller process. That's what the steps are right there. So what you see on that column on the left-hand side, let's just look at buyers, and then it'll be the same thing for sellers, a little bit different in some areas. So when we look at buyers, what are the 10 steps of the buying process? You've got your needs analysis, you got the pre-approval process, you have the neighborhood information, you got the home search, making an offer, negotiating the offer, coordinating vendors, pre-post preparation, your actual closing, and then your post-closing. So those are the steps of the buyer process, and then you can see what the steps are for the seller process. There's some variations there in some of those categories. So the homework, the part, again, once you have your value proposition down, this is where you start to say, okay, well, here's how I'm going to set expectations with my buyers, and here's how I'm going to exceed expectations. So as an example, and this is where I had a fully filled out one from before, and I mentioned it for those that came afterwards, that I lost my original information in the hurricane, so I don't have like all my examples that I had written out. I might have them on a flash drive though, now that I'm thinking about it. Actually, I might have them on a flash drive still.
What's the light bulb that is?
Yeah, I just had a light bulb go off that I might still have them on a flash drive at home. So I'm gonna continue to look for those. So needs analysis, what would be like an example, and we're not gonna do all of it, just so you can kind of get the idea here. So we're working on the needs analysis. This is step one of working with the buyer and step one of working with the seller too. How would we set expectations and then how would we exceed expectation? It's gonna be maybe different for all of you, or maybe the same. So how would you set expectations and think about this way. Think of it, you have a team and you're meeting with somebody on your team and say, hey, the customer experience is really important to me. When it comes to the buyers and when we do the needs analysis, this is how we set expectations, and this is how we exceed expectations. So this is what we do to set, or how we set, not, this is how we do, let me rephrase it because I'm maybe confusing us. You're setting expectations of, hey, here's what I'm going to do for you during the buyer needs portion of the consultation. These are the things I'm going to do for you. Look at it that way. So what are some of the things you think could go in here? What are some expectations you would have? I'll give you a simple one. No buyer goes out until we've done a buyer needs analysis.
Absolutely. I did that in a meeting. It has to be in Zoom or in person. I never let anyone call me and say, I want to see this property. Yeah. And if they won't meet with me, I don't take them.
Perfect.
And then I have a whole thing I go through, exactly explain the different mortgages and what's going to be best for you, versus what you're looking for, how payments work and things like that.
So you're setting expectations that all buyers go through a buyer needs analysis. How would you exceed expectations in the needs analysis? Like if that's your standard, like, hey, you can expect this, like what are some other things you would do to exceed that?
Well, I have printed materials for them so that they can refer back to it, because I know everybody, especially first buyers, get a little bit overwhelmed after that.
Yeah.
And that's why I've never used a buyer broker agreement. I've never had to. But times have changed. So I signed one yesterday. Yeah. But that's what
Very evolving.
But I didn't ever have anybody go with anybody else, because I exceeded the expectations of what I knew and what programs, things I could bring to them. But times are changing.
Yeah. No, they definitely are. I think about this, I think with just this category, right? Buyer needs analysis. I think, okay, expectations are everybody does a needs analysis. Something else you said there. Buyer loyalty, and everybody signs a buyer loyalty agreement. That's the expectation.
I just added it to my handbook. It's in there now.
Those are expectations. Yep. Exceeding it, something that's coming to mind right now for me on the needs analysis is maybe post needs analysis based on our conversation. Maybe I find out that the wife speaks mostly Spanish. Maybe I gather all those documents we went over for her and I get them in Spanish versions and I send it over to her. Would that be exceeding? Now the question is, do I have it in Spanish version, right? I use the Spanish for me. Yet, is that valuable? Absolutely. Absolutely. So you can see where this can take some time. If you have no idea where you're at on this, honestly, what I would do is just take note mentally here and start documenting what you do right now with buyers, what you do right now with sellers. And you might find that you actually already have a system that you follow for setting and exceeding expectations that you're doing. You just never written it down. Like, for example, the fact that you take everybody out or you do a buyer analysis before you take anyone out, that you already do it, it's part of your system. So think fast forward now 12 months, 24 months, whatever it is, and you're now ready to bring in a ton of agents, or maybe you need to step out from your business and somebody else is going to take it over. Standards are set right here because all the standards are here. For me, this is the way I look at this right here. This is how you guys all set yourself apart. Because at the end of the day, all of us in this room do the same thing. We take step 1 through step 10 on buyers and sellers. It's how we do it and how we make people feel along the way that makes us different. Another example of exceeding expectation after a needs analysis, I could send a little, you mentioned Popeyes. I can send a little gift to your house. I can stop by your house the next day or send somebody with some flowers and candy or something. I don't know. What's her name? Jackie Ellis, the big team over on the East Coast. One of the things that she's always been well known for is her pre-listing package. So we always talk about send a pre-list package before you go on an appointment, but hers is a whole freaking basket with popcorn, candy, bunch of different things that she's evolved and done differently throughout the years. Where do you think that falls in this? Well, I'm just jumping right now to number 1. See, I mean, that might be, I think for her, that's actually her expectations that goes down, but you could argue it's either setting expectations or exceeding expectations. For her, it's an expectation that every seller got its pre-list basket. And why is she known over the years for that? Because she's very consistent about it. It's part of her business model. People have learned in her community to expect that from her. So the homework here, again, is to take your time, do the value proposition first, and then start working on page 57. And what I did when I did mine is that I just kind of made this chart on Word so I can just type it into my computer. Because obviously there's not a lot of space here to type. Just go on Word, make a row, or make a chart with 10 rows, 3 columns, and just start typing into it. Remember, it's not a race. You don't have to do it overnight. Take your time. Just any questions about it? Any questions about that? What are we doing there? Any questions about setting expectations in general before we go to step 2? All right, let's jump to page 60. So now we're on step 2 of the process, which is where we serve. Think back to the little example I gave you, Best Buy, predict, prove, confirm, predict what you're going to experience in this demo, but I give you now the prove part. This is the prove part. So we said, hey, we're going to deliver all these things in your needs analysis. We're going to deliver all these things for you. This is where we now accept the show up and do what we said. So on page 60, it says at the top, time to think service. The second step in your customer experience is all about serving up what you said you do and doing it well. Since customers focus on outcomes and the experience, this step is critical to delivering a great customer experience. Now notice here it says outcome. You were talking about earlier, success is, hey, we closed, we transacted, it was great, but what was the experience, the emotion along the way? At this point, you have explained what service you will provide, anyone who hires you, and your value proposition, and you and your customer have agreed on expectations. Now you must do what you agree to and do it well. At the bottom, it says on the truth section, your integrity is challenged every time you fail to deliver on what you say you will do. Anyone can think of a time they said that they would, do something and they didn't do it, in real estate? I'm trying to think if I have an example of recently or not. I don't have an example that I said I was gonna do something, but I think one example that's kind of helping me, making me think of this right now, or next, a moment that's coming to my mind right now. I had a customer who I helped buy a home, and it was an amazing experience buying it. They were relocating, and this one stung a little bit. When they went to go sell it, literally 2 months later, because the wife decided not to stay here locally anymore and made the guy move back to Chicago. They lost money by the way on that. This time when the market was doing good, so there was no equity at this point. When we go to sell, the market shifted since they purchased 2 months prior, and we're not getting the price that they want. Long story short, we ended up terminating and splitting and going our separate ways. That was the most weight off my shoulder I've ever felt. And by the way, we're talking about $495 is what I ended up selling at, and it was a 3% commission, so you do the math. They said to me at one point, Jordas, you were great helping us buy the home. You're not great at selling it. That stung a little bit. It also got me to think, okay, well, what expectations am I setting with them? I don't think I was at the greatest at that time with the conversations we're having to have right now about the market and prices and what it's doing. I just didn't do my best. But if I go back and rethink also, did I do my best probably during the setting expectations stage of the consultation? So going back to this chart from earlier, needs analysis on the seller side, my expectations is I tell you what the market is doing, regardless of whether you like it or not. Like I know there are agents that are not telling the truth to the sellers about the market. They want to just get that listing. You guys are seeing it left and right, I'm sure too. You're seeing it because you're looking at expireds. And I'm not saying they're all that. I'm not saying all of them are that. Sometimes the sellers are just a little crazy and not taking the advice. But it makes me think about what expectations am I setting during the needs analysis. One thing I know for sure, the only thing we're testing is the price. My market is going to work. Only thing we're testing is the price. So I probably could have handled that part better. It was the listing appointment is where I could have done it a lot better. I think I was trying to make them, if being honest with myself, I think I was just trying to help them feel better about the fact that, I mean, this guy was stressed out. He just bought the house in December, and in January, the wife's already telling him we want to move back to Chicago. Like, how would you feel if you just relocated your family from Illinois down here, and then a month later, your wife tells you that? That's brutal, right? So, yeah. Jump over to 61. What was that? Divorce. What did I say to my wife at the time? I probably did say something along the lines of, that's just insane to me. Like, if you put me through that, well, you better suck it up, Buttercup. You stay at home. I was like, you stay at home. You don't do nothing. I'm the one that's working. You adjust. That's what I would have probably said, but that probably wouldn't have worked. So don't do that. All right, page 61. We're getting deeper now, so do what you agreed to. So a system of checks and balances in place to ensure that everything gets done to satisfy the customer. True business people conduct business with people they trust. Now, I don't know if you guys already know this, but if you've been to my boot camps, I've shown this to you. In Command, in opportunities, you can set up checklists for each stage of the process. So if you guys can think of Command right now and think of opportunities, there's the cultivate, there's the appointment stage, there's the active stage under contract, and then I think it's called legacy or close, the next stage. In each one of those phases, you can set up checklists for yourself that says, hey, when my customer goes to this stage, here are the 10 things I need to do. Here are the 5 things I need to do. They go, we're past when we get to the appraisal phase, there's 4 things I need to do. And you can customize it. There's a whole blank template that I can give you, but you can customize it. And I think that's a great way for you to document what you said you're going to do and make sure that you have it somewhere. Because I don't know about you, but you're probably not going to have a piece of paper saying that, right? you're gonna probably want to leverage the system to help you or to help remind you what you need to deliver on. Do it well. This one, I mean, it talks a little bit about technology, so we'll be able to skim a little bit through this, but it talks about having standards, leveraging technology, and leveraging people and vendors to deliver on the customer experience that you're promising people. So we're actually going to dig now in the next couple of pages into these three. So let's kick off with having standards. Yep, we're going to hit page 63, 64. Yeah, the next couple of pages, we're going to pretty much hit all the pages. So let's look at having standards. Somebody cover the myth and the truth for me at the top. Anybody?
My clients will only work with me, only I can deliver the quality of service.
True.
Your clients aren't loyal to you, they are loyal to the standards you represent. It's for the millionaire real estate.
Pause for a second here. Let's all be honest with ourselves. Who's thinking the myth is actually the truth? I'll be honest. I was thinking that. Huh? Do you think that too? Yeah. And it's not true. It is a myth, by the way. They don't care about you. They care about your system. I had to learn this one the hard way though. Because what I realized is that, and all of you guys are going to experience the same thing, there's a certain point, a ceiling you're going to hit that you're not going to be able to get past it until you start leveraging out some of the things that have to get done in your business. For me, I know at 18 deals, after that, I kind of I needed help. I couldn't manage in my head 18 deals. It's systematic that I need somebody to help me organize all that. Yet, KW models teach us that you should be able to do 36 deals on your own before you need leverage. Wasn't the case for me. I also learned it this way. When I wanted to take a vacation, I don't know if you guys have experienced this yet. You ever go to take a vacation, all of a sudden everybody's calling you right at the start of your vacation? Yeah. So how do you take a vacation where you know you're not going to have service and then still service your people? Are you going to need people to help you? Yeah. Well, after doing that a couple of times, I realized, well, wait a minute. And I had a buddy of mine that I used to always lean into, like, hey, while I'm away, these showings, will you handle it for me? I'll give you a split of the deal. After doing that a few times, or hey, I got to go down to training in Davie, and you take these customers out, and I'll split the deal with you. After a few of those, you realize they didn't even care about me. They just cared that they got to see the house and that we were representing them. And we got the offer in that time. And we got the information they needed. They didn't care who was delivering that information. So sometimes we convince ourselves that it's my knowledge they want. Yes, they want your knowledge, yes, but they really want your systems, your standards, your process. They don't care if it's you doing it or somebody else. In some situations, I had my assistants be way more connected with the customer, buyer or seller, than I ever was. Because maybe they had the same disc personality, so they just connected a lot better. Your people are not hiring you, they're hiring your systems and your standards. And remember that, and the quicker you can grasp that and realize that leveraging people, technology to do more business is going to help you, I think the quicker you'll be able to, of course, scale. Now the chart there, I love those charts. But see what that chart says. I know it's a little bit smaller on the screen here, so you guys can see it on your paper there a little bit better. On the left-hand side, here's what it shows. It's showing us new business. It says that as we do more transactions, so notice how the transaction line is going up, our service level goes down. As our transactions go up, our service level goes down. On the right-hand side, as our service level stays consistent, what does our transactions do? Skyrocket. So all we got to do is figure out how we can stay consistent with the service level that we provide. And we're going to need people to help us to do that. Yes or no? This is the part where you guys can get yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So keep that in mind when you start asking or telling yourself, oh, no, they only want to deal with me. No, they want to deal with what you stand for. Jump to page 60. Hold on a second, because I'm going to organize this a little bit different. Well, yeah, let's stay on 63 for a second before I keep going. So so if it's your standards that they're hiring, where do you document that? Like, where do you figure out, how do you communicate your standards out? Before I go on. They're hiring me for my standards. How am I gonna spell that out? Like, where am I spelling that out?
I have a QR code that I give to my customers. They have them read past customers' reviews.
Okay. All right. Well, I want you to think of that checklist from before, from the previous chapter. Remember we were talking about standards? Like that's like the foundation for all this. This is where that's going to be that's where it's starting from. So when I think about your situation, I know you're working with a lot of builders and there's things that you do with going to the city and all that. In your 10 steps of the buyer process, we're gonna have to figure out what are your expectations, and then how do you exceed expectations? And then, because here's the thing, as you are hitting a ceiling where you're gonna need help from people, that's your training manual to help train that individual on what your team stands for. So I think the key is that if we don't document all this stuff up front and know how we're doing, why we're doing it, when we do it, then it's gonna be difficult to duplicate it when we start to bring people on. So think about that. Everything needs to be documented. Now, here's where it's on page 63. What it's talking, and we're not going to go crazy deep on every bullet point from here. I'm like looking at this because some of it's kind of all together. And again, I want to make sure that we stay on time with everything. So I'm going to jump from, stay on 63 for a second. At the top, it talks about communication standards. It says communication is a standard, is a factor that customers will be quick to judge. They seldom feel they get too much communication. In fact, one of the most common complaints is they're not getting enough of it. They're not getting enough of the communication. Now, do people like to be communicated with in different ways? Yeah, right. Some like what? Some like text messages. Some like phone calls. Some like emails. Go to 65. On page 65, it talks about how is your message being received. So if we communicate via email, or actually let's use that lady that I talked to you about. She likes to communicate how? Text, right? She likes text messages unless it was an offer. So how is your message being received? There are three main components of how someone receives your message. So what you say, the words you use, how you say it, your tone of voice, and what you're doing while you say it, your body language. Now, in a text message, body language is a little difficult. Do you agree?
Yeah.
You can't quite do that. But is what you say and how you say it important in a text message? Can there be a tone to a text message? No?
Yes.
Yeah. It could be just who you're talking to. I'm gonna put myself out there for a second here. So some of you know I divorced and remarried. When I'm talking to when my baby's mother is texting me, you could be saying the exact same thing, but just because it's coming from her, I took it differently. So yes, there is a tone in text message. The words that are used can also be good or bad as well. So what are we saying here is you got to be careful what tools you're using for communication and the words you're using. And now, of course, if this is in person and this is over the phone, then there's also another factor there. You know, in mobile, we've learned that when you're lead generating, to have a mirror in front of you and smile and have the mirror there to kind of keep your energy up. Because you may deliver the message a little bit different that way versus if you didn't have that there. So be very cautious of that. On the next page, on 66, it starts talking about how do you communicate via email. So Monica Reynolds, that's the lady at the top of the page now. some of you know this, maybe if you've been in a class with me before. So there's a program called the Perfect Real Estate Assistant. When you're at a point where you're ready to bring on your first assistant, that program literally trains them for you. That's ran by this woman, Monica Reynolds. Now, she's big, and she talked about this in her program. So here are some suggestions from her. When you type in all caps, your email comes across as shouting. You guys have probably seen it, right? You've seen it. It's all caps. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? Or even agents sometimes on their descriptions or in their confidential remarks. Edit your messages before sending them. Use spell checker. Pretty obvious one. I think it's all built in now to most of our programs. I think now there's AI built into most of our keyboards now, if I'm not mistaken, or messengers that we use. Reply with caution. Be careful who you're replying to avoid replying all or double checking who is listed. Keep it brief. Watch your tone. Keep it positive. Include your signature that includes all your contact information. And pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah, nothing crazy. I think the main thing with communication is be careful with tone, body language, and how you say things and your choice of words. On the page, what is it? Jump to page 69. Back here, 69. Mindset and image standards. How you feel, think, and act, your mindset is easily transferred to your face and body. Or, say it again?
Big time.
Big time, yeah. For example, when we're sad, we may tend to frown. When we're happy, we smile and laugh more. These emotions can carry over to our customers and create an uncomfortable feeling, even distrust. Truth is, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Agree or disagree?
Agreed.
Yeah. There's been a debate, whether it's publicly known or not, I don't know, but there is a debate out there about how realtors should dress. You guys know about that debate? You guys ever heard about it?
No, I haven't.
I maybe made it up, I don't know. Here's what I know. And I don't think there's a right or wrong at the end of the day. I think you gotta know who your customer is. There are realtors out there that are more like the golf outfit, and it works. I'll use Captain. Captain is a fisherman. Captain Mike here, he's in his kind of boated outfit. That's his customer base, and that's who, it's like he's literally mirroring matching them. If I saw him in a suit, I'd just find it weird. If he went to me in a suit at one of these properties. Yet, I'll use another one, William Reynoso. Those that know William here, Marco, you know that William's always in a suit for the most part. Whenever William meets with me, the right before he goes to the gym, I find it weird because he's in his gym clothes. I'm like, dude, dress up, like, where's your dress up clothes? So that's his image and his standard, right? Aside from mindset, just to figure out what your image standard is with your customers. I think the answer is mirror and match your customer. I think that's what the ultimate answer is. Yet first impressions matter. I'm gonna tell you this. First time I meet somebody, I'm gonna be, if I had to look at it from a scale of 1 to 10, like decked out 10, maybe I'll go 8 or 9. But then by the time I met you and we're now in a relationship, I meet you with some jeans and a polo, unbuttoned, and some shoes, and we're gonna go out and look at homes. But I've built that rapport and we're kind of at that point now. So keep that in mind. Go ahead. Oh boy.
So I've been watching Selling Sunset on Netflix.
Why are you watching that? Why are you watching that?
Like high class
And they also,
workers. With, you know, I mean, like the less clothing, the money they make.
well, I have heard that their production in real world is not what it is on TV.
Right. You know, I went to some, showing agents go because of their cleavage. After I talked to them about dressing professionally, but they were still, you could take the girl on the bar, and take the bar out, the girl kind of thing, because they were both bartenders breaking into the business, but they constantly have, the fight for their families, single women, or, you know, yeah. Women, you know, just go, it didn't go well, because I would see when I do my consultation, you're staring at the chest. By the time, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, Page 70 goes into image again. I mean, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but maintain a professional look and dress appropriate. Remember, on page 70, remember your workplace is not just your office, it's also your car. Is your car a mess? Is there a story there? Is there a story? You're bad at that one? Oh, you careful with that one because I've had them peek in my car and that's also not good either. Image is also defined by who you surround yourself with, your assistant, vendors, stages, photographer, videographers, and so on. So like when I hire an assistant, it's like, well, wait a minute, I gotta be careful how they talk and speak, even though some people might say, oh, well, they're behind closed doors. I'm like, yeah, but they still talk to your customers. They still have to email your customers. Some of them have to see your customers. You gotta remember they're an extension of you. So and I actually, I remember my last couple of admins, I told them, I mean, there's been times I've seen them, and one person in particular who would come in, I'm like, you're looking a little ragged. And you're not even gonna see a customer, but if he's looking raggedy, probably speaking a little raggedy, like this, it's not good energy. Right? So keep in mind now as you grow that everything is an extension of you. Your car is an extension of you, how you dress, the people you surround yourself with, the vendors. So just to kind of hit on that one a little bit, if your home inspector's rude, that's gonna reflect on you. I don't think we have any good home inspectors that we associated with, but just keep that in mind. On page 71, it talks about enforcing standards. So in there, it says there's some examples down at the bottom. So like prior to showing clients a home, they must have seen it first. That's a standard on this first team. Within 1 hour after receiving a signed contract, reach out and call the client. That's a standard they have. Never hang up the phone without letting client know what is happening next. That's the standard they have. Answer the phone within blank. You fill in the blank. You answer all phone calls. We in our team, we answer calls within 30 minutes. Whatever you want it to be. We on our team answer inbound leads within 5 minutes. Just got to figure out what standard you're going to have and again, enforce it. So that's what that's getting into. On page 73, here, on time, 50 minutes or so. On page 73, it talks about leveraging technology. I'm not going to read from here. 73, 74, 75 is all about, and 76 is about leveraging technology. What I would tell you is this, well, I kind of want to pull a room here. Who is using Command as their main CRM? Is their main CRM? Main CRM, okay, good, everybody's good. If it was the other way around, it was like your backup CRM, I would question why, but here's the reality of CRMs in general. I don't care which one you use one. If you're already paying for Command, Command brings a ton of value to you, and it's a lot less expensive than other platforms that are out there. I have agents right now that I coach with who are trying to figure out how to use the same features they use in that platform that they're using and it duplicated in Command because they're paying too much money over there on the other side. Over 500, somewhere over 1,000 a month for another CRM. Yes, over 1,000 a month, just for the CRM. Just for the CRM. So leverage Command, guys, as a CRM, as a place to build your, to put your database and work it's an amazing tool. And then what I would just also mention here with leveraging technology is the consumer app. I don't know if you're sharing it right now with the people you're coming across, like you mentioned, like you didn't have your card on you, but hey, I have my phone on me. Probably bet you had that, right? You should have been just boom.
She was on it.
Yeah, no. I heard your filter starts just based on the conversation. I'm so sorry to be rude. Just so you have information, I mean, let me share my app with you. If you're ever looking at any new agent. Just something like that and leverage the consumer app because that is a business card. So leverage Command, leverage your app, and then on your website that jumps to page 76. I'm really summarizing. I'm not really thinking bullet points from here, so let me make sure I don't have anything that I'm going to miss here. Here's what I would just add with your website with servicing your customers. Your website can do quite a bit for you. Your website, you can put blogs up that you can customize on your own blog. You can put videos up on your website now. I don't know if you guys seen those features yet. There's a mortgage calculator you can put up on your website. People can leave reviews on your website. They can download your app from your website. You can do Facebook ads to drag people to your website and have it be a lead generating capture site. Capture people's information by driving them there. There's a ton that it can do for you. Out of the box, it's pretty well set up, and yet it can be customized. You don't know, and I think the great thing about our command sites is you don't have to be like a HTML like guru. You guys know what HTML is? Yeah, it's like a little code they use to build websites. Like I did that in high school and I built a little web. So funny, back then it used to be cool to have like subwoofers and big speakers in your car. So I made a website that I was selling subwoofers and speakers, all through HTML coding. You don't have to do any of that. Literally drag and drop, you can design your website and add to it. So leverage it. Again, it's just a big part of your value proposition. And when you guys set, remember we talked about do your value proposition first, put that on your website. Why not? Why not have a part of your website that says why you should hire me? And then boom, picture review. I don't know, maybe the big swordfish, if that's your customer base, and here's why you should hire me with your little paragraph. You can put that on there. All right, page 77, let's see if we're good on time. 77 through 81. It talks about leveraging people. Now, if I am a solo agent, or a couple, and I don't have team members or an assistant, like what, other than leveraging each other, you two, who else could I, like what people would I be leveraging? Who could I use as people leverage in my business? See if you guys are thinking outside the box.
The vendors?
Yeah, your vendors. TC, that you just pay per file. So a lot of this section, page 77 through 81, is really talking about leveraging like your team as you're building the team. But if you're not there yet, and that's kind of I figured that's who the audience would be today. So I kind of prepped on really not covering those pages. I was just going to talk about who do we leverage as solo agents. So let's talk about vendors. Okay, so who's probably the first vendor that we can leverage?
It's mortgage.
Okay, who wants to start? We'll cover both. You said lender, or so you? Okay, so we'll talk about both. Come back to you. So talk to me. Mortgage, you said?
Yeah.
So how do we leverage our mortgage people in our business, to run our business?
Well, I think we could have, like links, to their website and maybe like mortgage calculator link or something on your website.
Okay, that's one good way. What else? Now everybody can jump in. How do we leverage our vendors in our businesses as people leverage?
Well, both things I do with one of my home inspectors, he does a lot of, win it, you know, work points for people that are considering selling.
Okay,
So I get leads from him that way.
that's interesting.
And because people are getting insurance quotes a lot, because insurance has changed.
Yeah.
And that's sort of been a different kind of.
Yeah. And how's he leverage for you in your business though? So that's, well, he's through
He gives me
leads.
the lead.
Through the leads, so that it is.
The lead,
That's
of course,
great.
they like him, then he says, you gotta go to my agent, I work, you know, been working with this agent for 10 years or whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you gonna add something? Okay. So going back to like lenders for a second, like I think they're flyers and marketing tools. Top 10 things not to do when you're buying. Leverage them for that. You got open houses coming up and you want a rent versus buy analysis for that exact property, leverage them for that. You have a buyer lead that just came in from a website and you have no idea whether they're even approved or not, leverage it. Hey, let me get you in touch with our lender. That's the first step of the buyer process. Is it important the vendors you work with, whether lender, inspectors, title, is it important that they provide similar, if not better experience than you do to your customers? Super. Why?
Consistency.
Elaborate on that one.
The experience, like I have a title company.
Yes.
And lenders and inspector that I only use because I know their every experience, every interaction is the same as mine. You know, with customers, and they know what to expect.
Yeah. Could you not build that list of your vendors into, remember the expectations earlier? We talked about how we set expectations, exceed expectations. That could be a part of it. Every one of my buyers and sellers gets my list of vendors. Hey, here's who we work with. We work with them because we know they're gonna provide the same level of experience that you can expect from me. So a lot of times we're like, it's funny because I've always branded myself as the Pro Scout group. And like, oh, you had a team, Jordas? So why? Yeah, I did have a team at a point, but yet a good bulk of my 7 years here in the industry has been me and my lenders and my inspector. That's been the team that I'm promoting as the Pro Scout group. There was a point where those vendors even would show up on my list of presentation, like their headshots, like you mentioned a TC. Your transaction coordinator probably doesn't work for you only, probably works with other realtors, and yet mine had her photo in my presentation as part of my team. Because they're the ones that I am counting on to deliver the experience that I'm promising. So when you think leverage people, that's what we're talking about here. And beyond just the people that serve your customers, I encourage you to leverage your leadership team as well. You have a broker. Why is your broker not on your presentation? Hey, I have a dedicated broker. Sole responsibility, making sure that all our paperwork's in order. He or she is gonna inspect all of our contracts to make sure we're safe. Hey, I have a coach I meet with. Any challenges that we face that I might not know the answer to? Not only do I have my broker, but I have also a coach that I reach out to that can also guide us through any difficulties during the transaction we might face. I love when people have the whole line that people will say, hey, so it's like you and I combined, we have combined 20 years experience. You start combining all of our experience, all of a sudden you can say the same line. You hire me, you're getting over 40 years of experience. What were you thinking? What was your thought?
I think we just did a video like that. It's hilarious. So, like how much time we've been here.
Yeah. So let's see here. Let's get us back on track here. So that sums up leveraging people. That's page 77, 78, 79. All about how do you leverage team members and people. When you build a team, I think it's where we get to retake this course too, even with your team members. Like when I was on the road teaching, a lot of team members, like the rainmakers, actually brought the team with them to the class. So that was always a nice, interesting dynamic in the classroom when we did it that way. All right, 82, we talked about that already, leveraging your vendors. I would encourage you to use 83. We're not going to do the actual activity that we normally would have done in the full length class. But on page 83, it says, how do you communicate your standards to your vendors? How do you hold them accountable? And how do you get vendor feedback from your customers? And how often do you review your expectations and standards with your vendors? If you get a bad review on, let's say, your home inspector, I know that you probably are going to make that phone call right away and say, hey, what happened? And I know if it happens again, you're probably not going to go a third strike. Is it safe to assume that? There you go. So are you doing that with vendors that you're sending to your customer? They should be off your list. They should be off your list. So, and what I would encourage you doing, I think the big thing about this, I like question number 1, how do you communicate your standards to your vendors? I think the key there is, are you even having that conversation with them up front? Like how many lenders reach out to us, hey, are you available for coffee? Okay, are you available for this? Okay, sure. You meet them, whatever. And it's always about how can they get your business, but should be the other way around too as well. Yeah, it works both ways. Chris kind of mentioned using the same people every time. There's a title company that I have used. Actually, no, there's a title agent that I have used 20 plus closings probably. And she's been with maybe 4 title companies in that 7-year period. But the reason and you guys all know this, not every transaction do we have the choice of who it is. But when I've had the choice, I work with her no matter which company she's been with, because I know what experience she's going to deliver on. I don't even have to micromanage what the phone conversation is going to look like. I know she's going to say all the right things, and she's going to make me look like a rock star in the eyes of that customer. Page 85, or as we wrap up this piece here, 85, let me get everybody on screen here. So similar, this kind of resembles what we did in step 1. A little bit different here because now this one's going to talk about expectations you're setting here, also like what are your, what are some of your general standards for serving your customers? What are your, general, standards for communicating with your customers, how you serve them? Mindset image, so like I remember on mindset image, I used to simply put, car must be washed weekly, and you must have, you must be professionally business casual, slacks or khakis with a tucked in shirt, iron. That was the standard if you wanted to be working with me. Hair fixed up a little bit. I haven't had that problem, but I always had short hair also, so for me, it wasn't a problem. Yeah, I had to make a standard for that. Technology standard, one of my technology standards was that, hey, every customer we work with, we show them how to download and actually use the app. We show them physically side by side how to navigate and use the app. I want them to know how easy it is for them to inquire about any property in the United States, and I'll get them the answer. I want them to know how easy it is for them to get neighborhood information about that community in Chicago that I have no idea about. So that was one of the standards. How are they gonna do it?
No, about.
Because I'm gonna show them.
On the app, the
Yeah.
command.
Not command, the consumer app. The consumer app, right? Now, if I'm the only one that had to deliver all these standards, it'd be a little bit difficult, right? No, this is again, you're leveraging people. You're leveraging your team. I think this step really starts coming together more so when you have the team. Yet, can you set general standards for yourself? Absolutely. Go for it.
Can I digress just for a minute?
Yeah.
On the app, see, I use one that's from over there called the MLS Touch. And I've been told that there is no app like that over here in New York. So which one are you?
I'm talking about the consumer. I'm talking about the KW consumer app. Yeah, we're talking about the KW consumer app that's connected to our website. It's connected to your website. That's the app I'm referring to. Yeah. So thank you for asking.
What do we find it on fan somewhere?
Well, you can go to yeah, just go to the app store and then make sure it's connected to you. You got to find you as the agent in your app. Yep, in the app that it's connected to you.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you could share it to yourself on a different email address.
You can.
And if you don't have it.
And then you can share it to
you'll see what the customer's even gonna get when you share it with them.
Beautiful.
I did that to myself just last.
That's a good way to download it.
And it was interesting because then I was looking at things up in Connecticut, what was going on.
Yep.
Oh, great.
App store. Look for the KW. Yeah, KW app. There's two apps KW has. The red one, the red background one is command. The white background one is the consumer side. That's all you gotta do.
Oh, so that
App
white
both.
one is the one that's national?
That's the consumer one, yes, and one even beyond national. I just looked up some properties in the app that are important in Dominican Republic, in Puerto Plata, where I was just at, where my family is. I could see homes for sale in Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic, through the app. And guess who's the agent? Because I'm looking at it in my app. I'm the agent. So if I shared the app with somebody, they inquired on that property, I'm the one that's getting that.
Well, that's what I've seen happen. I had calls that somebody, like a nail technician, was showing my app, and they just thought I was a listing agent on all these properties. And I was like, because they were calling about these properties I didn't have any listing on, but because our app was branded to us. Yeah. Sure, it was making it.
I got 30 minutes roughly to get through 3 more sections. So we're gonna jump to survey the customer. So we set expectations, we serve the customer, and now we're gonna survey the customer. So if you jump to page 88 in the material, this kind of talks on the bottom of those 4 bullet points. You see kind of what we're talking about in this section. We're talking about checking in frequently, asking for feedback, reviews, testimonials, tracking your customer experience score, and then making improvements along the way. So that's what we're going to dig into. On the next page on 88 or 89, I'm sorry, it talks about top check-in frequently. So let me ask you, it's going to come up later, but how frequently do you think that you should check in with your customers about the experience? Not checking in to say, let you know what's happening with closing or what's happening with the appraisal. That's just happening about the experience, purposeful check-in about how their experience is going. Let's survey this. How often do you think we should check in on them during the transaction? Throw a few numbers out.
Once a week.
So once a week. Okay, who else got them? So once a week. Oh, often should we check in and survey the customer? How's your experience going? Oh. There's no wrong answer. Throw it out there. How often, Celine, would you check in with your customers or with your buyer?
Well, it depends on the circumstances, but once a week sounds good if you're in the middle of working on something. If they're out, like maybe once a month.
Okay, well, once a month you check in. Okay. Anyone else want to throw anything out there? We're gonna cover that, so don't you worry. Jump for me to page. Let me see here. Let's go to
What's it the X for?
customer experience is what it stands for. So most of us are probably using Facebook or Google, which is a 5-star review. So it's just whatever you're using. Like my Best Buy days, we used to call it NPS and Net Promoter Score. And it was based on a scale of 1 to 10. So that was the whatever you start with today, keep it that. So don't have people rate you on a 1 to 5. 6 months later, change it on a scale of 1 to 10. You're not gonna have consistency.
Rate My Agent is another one. I pay annually for as well.
Yeah.
It's real simple to get reviews.
Yeah, some people like to use that one. Let's see here. I want to connect this. So jump to 92 for a second, and we're gonna kind of get into a video here. It'll start answering that question you just asked too. So page 92, get it up on the screen. It talks about asking for feedback. Now, this is where you survey, ask for reviews and testimonials. Mine that I was using as my primary place for reviews is Facebook, the website, and Google Pages. Now, your site, what was it called again?
Rate My Agent.
Now, is that can you tell us real quick, was that syndicating your rating to other places, or what was the idea there? That's right.
It's part of our MLS in Broward.
Okay.
So it kind of comes with that. It's a $4.95 fee, but it really, works it so you never not request a review.
Okay.
So, and it stays after them to get it. So I've gotten a lot, where maybe somebody would just said, it was okay, about 5-star. It really gets them to write something in there.
Okay. But then it stays there? Is that what it is? It stays on the site, or does it?
Yeah, I take it, I post it on my website,
Okay,
and I
gotcha.
put it on to.
Okay, that's what I was kind of looking for. Where does it live? Where does it live? Okay, so that's your tool that you use to capture it, which that's what you start to get into in 93. It says conduct a survey, page 93. Get it up on the screen here for everybody. At the top, it says conduct a survey, figure out what survey instrument you're going to use. And that's what we're talking about here, or the delivery method. Is it going to be electronic? Is it going to be paper? Is it going to be Google form? Is it going to be a phone call where you're going to call them and do an interview with them over the phone about it? Whatever it is, you got to determine what that tool is going to be and be consistent with it. Now, let's get into kind of the question I was asking here about when is the best time to survey the customer for their experience? For me, it's always been like these critical moments of the transaction. So in the book, it teaches us during the escrow, when you're getting into contract close, they're after the closing, 1 or 2 months after the closing, 1 year later, or all the above. There's really no wrong answer here. For me, I always felt it was good to survey them at critical points. So for me, what were those critical points? Well, I'll have to go way too far back. Think about the 10 steps of the buyer process that we talked about earlier, that we've seen. What's the first step? Needs analysis. So I would survey them after the needs analysis. So like right between when we do the appointment and we're showing properties, I want to survey and find out, hey, so far, what's your experience been on this phase of the process? Because here's what I know, and think back to my comments earlier about Ford, and we'll go with that one. If I'm pissed, will I tell the world? Will I tell everybody? Yes. But if I'm not, am I telling the world? If I'm happy, am I telling everybody?
Even if you're just so-so, you're probably not gonna say anything.
You're not gonna say anything. So if it's so-so, or if it's great, they're not gonna say anything. You have to ask. They're not gonna just shout out and say, oh my God, by the way, I just wanted to call you to let you know that the appointment you had with us yesterday was just absolutely amazing. They're not gonna do that.
Right.
I'm sorry, but they're not. You have to elicit that information. So for me, I felt like that was always a good point. Another great point to survey them was when you went under contract. Because when you went on the contract, I wanted, what do I want to know? I was like, hey, what was your experience like when we were out looking at homes? What was your experience like, when we were making the offer and negotiating the offer? I want to know, did I communicate well with you? Was it confusing? Was it stressful or stress-free? So I can survey them there. Where else can I, so if I'm surveying them after the appointment, the negotiation phase, what's another time I can survey them again?
Before you close.
Yeah, or right after.
Right after.
Yeah, right after the closing. How do we do handling inspections? How do we do with any contingency issues that came up?
And it's possible to survey for the closing is not living.
What do you mean?
Closing is not good.
Yeah.
What is the?
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe the title company didn't do a good job. All right, I wanna kind of find that out too. And then the next step would be kind of going back to here, like, hey, yeah, maybe a month or two after. Give you a reason to reach out. Maybe you survey your vendors at this point. Maybe you survey their experience with your vendors. Because you want to know, are you working with the right people? Hey, now that you've had some time to settle in, wanted to gather some feedback from you around your experience with my lender, my title company, and my inspector that you used. Do you have a few minutes? And then you already have a predetermined set of questions you're going to ask. So I think that would be another great time.
Well,
Yeah, in the moment, they're probably everything. Oh, great. It was great. Jump to page 95, 96. 95 says track your score. And I'm not going to read what Peter said there, but guys, we got to track the score. So figure out, do you want to use a scale of 1 through 10 or 1 through 5 or 0 through 5? Or is it, no, it's 1 through 5, right? It's not 0 through 5. 1 through 10, 1 through 5. Figure out your rating scale, and then you have to have a method to track it. Now, I like this, and I'm not promoting go sign up for the site, by the way, because it's going to cost money, of course.
Yeah, 95 a year. I know you're short on time. I'll send it to you then to look at.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think somebody had mentioned to me before, it could be as simple as paper, guys. It could literally just be, hey, I have a spreadsheet, and I just keep everybody's score here and average them out. If you're using your website and Facebook, it's there. Google Pages, it's there. So that could be your tracking method to say, oh, yeah, I'm 4 out of 5 stars, or whatever your rating is. So keep track, and then say it again. No, say it again. Okay. Such a sociable here. You see Miss Sociable here? Miss Sociable here. All right, so you're gathering feedback. You figured out how frequently you want to do it. You figure out what your vehicle method of doing it is. You're keeping track of your score. And then step 4, the process on page 96 is you're making improvements. So when things go right, when the customer has a great experience and is happy with the job you did and the relationship you all have built, you have a raving fan. They represent an opportunity for repeat business and an opportunity for referral business now and in the future. It is hard and expensive to replace a raving fan. When they're happy and excited with you, and keep that relationship going. Don't let them turn into a roof from earlier.
Not like a Karen.
No, she's nicer than a Karen. Yeah. That's the thing. And she was a very kind person. It's just that, it's just the way it worked out. Honestly, I've multiple times in the past reflected on how I could have done it differently, and yet I just don't know. I could have done this. I got her the home warranty, got her exactly what she was looking for. She was super ecstatic on the way out. Hurricane came, things changed. I don't know.
So you're in charge of hurricanes now.
Yeah, well, apparently I'm also emotionally in charge. I'm in charge of her emotions.
Okay.
I'm a therapist. I'm a therapist there. Yeah. When things go wrong, I think that's the one we really have to talk about. So do not be upset when things go wrong. It is going to be natural for you to say what? It is them, it's not me. It is your fault. I didn't do anything. I did everything right. Go ahead. Not my fault. Fight that urge and figure out what the lesson is in it. Fight the urge, figure out what the lesson is, because there absolutely is a lesson in every feedback you get, good or bad. If it's great, well, what can I do to continue repeating it? If it's horrible, what can I do to make sure I prevent it? I'm trying to think of a bad review if I have a story to give you here. Well, that family, that Illinois family, that's kind of in the lines of this. They never did give me a review online, so that's good. I obviously didn't solicit a review. I'm supposed to tell you that you should also solicit feedback, whether it was a good experience or a bad experience. You're supposed to ask for reviews, whether it was a good experience or a bad experience. Yeah, I maybe chosen not to say it when it's been a bad one. But here's where it really, in their situation, there was enough in our conversations for me to kind of gather what maybe I could have done differently. Obviously, I could have better communicated the market and done that piece better. So that's my lesson. I can't sit there and say it wasn't my fault. There's always still an opportunity to learn. You know, we always talk about exit interviews and leadership. We talk about it all the time. Like when an agent leaves, like, hey, find out what we could have done differently. So when a customer fires you or they ghost you and you get a hold of them in the future at some point, find out what you could have done differently. But if a customer fired you, find out what you could have done differently. That's what we're ultimately saying here. All right, see here, we are done with this section. Yep, perfect. All right, done with this section. Go to 103. 103, it's the work in this section, and we're almost there. We're on the home stretch. 103 is where it starts kind of maybe helping you kind of build out the body of your survey. So how and when will I check in with my customers? What questions would you like to have answered? Ask for testimonial, like where you want them to put the testimonial. So just having a whole system around that. Some of this I actually already have this in my Google Drive too. So you guys reach out to me, sidebar via email. I can get you what I have for this right now. But ultimately, it's just kind of where do you want them to survey you? What questions do you want to ask? And it's just kind of helping you to map out your process and your system around that. The fourth step, so let's get into it. We got 2 steps to cover in less than 25 minutes, so hang in there with me. Actually, this next 2 chapters are not that bad. Surpass expectations. So we've set expectations, we've served the customer, we've surveyed the customer, now we're surpassing. That's the exceeding part. Go for it. Oh, sorry, I thought you were gonna ask a question. Jump to page, let's see, let's go to 106 and 107. There we go. On page 106, it says surpass expectations. Surpass is the 4th step in delivering an exceptional customer experience. Customers expect a certain level of service during the real estate transaction. Just meeting those expectations may not be enough to wow your customer. Remember the video from earlier? What did that guy say? You didn't wow me. She didn't wow me. Right? Keep customers informed. Prepare them for what comes next. Never hang up the phone without telling your customer what is going to happen next. Communicate what you were doing on their behalf so they understand the value that you are creating them. I think a lot of times, and we've been talking a lot about this now more than ever with the buyer side of the transaction, because there's a lot of things we do. Are we telling our agent? Maybe on one end we don't tell them because we don't want to make it seem like, oh, you're good for you, like you're bragging or something like that. But the reality is they need to know what we're up to. Because right now, a lot of them think we just get in the car, show them a house, and we got paid already, and we made, $50,000.
Right.
Or in Celine's case, you're watching these ladies and thinking they're making $300,000 in deals when you go look in the MLS over there and they're not. They're just great actors.
They're not that great.
Well, let me reword it. For reality TV, apparently they are. For what people look for when their brain goes dead. That's what they're looking for.
Or at the beach.
Yeah.
I'm at my office today and they're at the beach. Like people think he just did.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a way to go about it. There's a way to go about it. Delight the customer, page 107, delight the customer. Surpassing expectations does not happen by accident. Do unexpected things in unexpected ways. Sorry, let me switch. Come from page 107. Do in the middle says, do unexpected things in unexpected ways. Surpassing expectations.
Explaining what you said you do, and then you provide unexpected service moments. Now, in the material, it doesn't tell you about this checklist that I'm gonna share with you, but on one way it's kind of alluding to it maybe a little bit. On one way it talks about doing one unexpected thing. So one of the checklists that I like to have on a buyer's consultation and a seller's consultation listing appointment is a kind of a getting to know you form. You guys maybe have or haven't seen it, but the getting to know you form has really silly things. Well, some basic things I've already known: name, phone number, email, kids, text, favorite candy, drink, vacation spot, things about them. And then I use that information, I just store it away in a DocuSign. I used to use it in Dotloop when I first started. I just put it in a DocuSign or wherever I know I can find it easily. And I reference it when I need to. I reference it whenever I did something bad, or whether, or, you know, it's my listing and Chris went to go show it, he left the door unlocked and all the lights on. Now I have to make a first mistake. Don't do that, bro. But stuff like that happens, right? And so that's a real thing, and it happens, and they call you pissed off. So I use the list along the way to kind of do some of those, again, those unexpected things. And I'm actually thinking about it right now, because somebody, Amber does that, our OP, our operating school, obviously we work for her. You know, the leadership team, we all work for Amber at the OP. So Amber did a getting to know you on us Google form like 2 years ago when she first started with us, and every now and then she'll sprinkle in some surprises. So the other day I'm walking to my office and she has a little gift basket for me with a book that we're all reading together. She had peanuts, a certain pack of peanuts and almond joys. What do those two things mean? Well, those were the things on my form. Right. When she asked me on my form, what is your favorite candies? That's what I put. Does that make sense? Yeah. Do you think she spent a lot of money on that? No. They're cheap. Why does that make it? Great. Feels great. And then I also have to top it on like a battery, but yeah. That's a separate thing. And yeah, it feels great. So finding opportunities to do that along the transaction, here's the thing, there's no way to predict it. There's no way to predict when this is when you should do this. I'm gonna give you an example of one that I didn't predict. It just happened. Helping a family buy their first home. First home, you know, oh, I'm sorry, well, let me backtrack. First home together, he had a home already. I helped him sell it, but now it was their first home as a couple. So let me rephrase that. And we were at this property, my car was parked first, and they were behind me. We were leaving, I got in my car first, they stayed at the house, and they were hugging each other. Looking at the house like, is this the one? And what do you think I did for my car? Took a picture of it, sent it to them. Something. What's funny is that's not the one that ended up on me. I found one like 2 houses later, because the other one they just gonna take it off. Now they're looking at this, that's the house we want. They ended up not taking it off. That's the one we want. That was it. Was the moment something I could have predicted? Could I have predicted that moment? No. Saw the opportunity and I took it. So just keep that in mind. I think there's some things we can do to prep, like you want to get to know you form. Another thing that you can simply do, that is predictable. If they have kids, why are you not every single year sending the kid birthday cards along with that? There's no reason their kids should not be getting birthday cards. One day those kids are going to turn into adults. Are they going to remember that relative they used to send those goofy cards when they were younger? Yeah, very possible. Is this about the lifetime of the customer and the family, or short term? Think about that. Because I had one family, and I was just praying, like, if I didn't have like his card, I would just print like a Ninja Turtle, just stick it in the card. It could be, you can stick a coloring thing and fold it up, put it in the card, and go color this, send me a picture, I have that, send me a picture. You can get super creative or super simple. Alright, jump to, let's see here. Let's do. Some of what we're talking about. For you to do on your own, page 110, 111, 112, 113 gives you examples of things other people have done that you can do to surpass expectations. It gives you examples for sellers, it gives you examples for buyers, and on page 113, it gives you some examples for buyers and sellers. I love this one on page 113 of the online. Let's see, second one down, it says, a jigsaw puzzle made from a photo of the house. That's nice. How expensive is that to go on like this, print and upload a picture of the house and have a 5x6 puzzle made for it? Or find the right size, because they have poster frames, like the nice black poster frames. You know what I want. Okay. But you can put the puzzle in, so you can even get them a puzzle and poster frame. Alright, page, go to, see, let's go down. Go to 121, at the end of it, surpassing expectations. And then it says here, how will I, page 121. How will I, and that's your homework on this one, continue to enhance my customer experience and bring unexpected value to them? How will I always prepare customers for what comes next? Do unexpected new and unexpected ways? And the third one factor is do one unique and special thing. Basically, bullet 3 and 4 are the same. Doing two unexpected things. Now, here's the thing you gotta be very careful about with this. You don't want to get to the point now where they're expecting you to do some crazy outrageous thing. Because you're doing it all the time. So is there such thing as overdoing it? Yeah. You buy your girl a purse every other week. The week you don't buy one, you're gonna realize you buy your bird. And it's funny in the dating age, it's like you don't go super hard on that first gift because how you gotta repeat that gift every time. I get them a $10 gift card, the first one. You guys see the whole, there's like, if you're up on pop culture, there's a whole list that women made. You ladies know about this, the list that you guys made of dates that are not acceptable. You guys have seen this? It's not acceptable for a man to take a woman on a date to Chuck E. Cheese. No, don't go to Chuck E. Cheese. Cheesecake Factory. That's on the list of places not to take your girl.
Why?
That's expensive. It's expensive. But anyways, I don't know how I connect this to that, but I did somehow. Do unexpected things. You know, opportunity arrives. All right, and then the last chapter, less than 15 minutes to cover it, and it's the sustain part. So we're all on the same page here of what the steps are. So we've set expectations of what we're gonna do. So think predict. I'm gonna go into my analogy from Best Buy. Here's what I'm gonna do for you. I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna ask you that I do a good job. I'm gonna exceed expectations along the way, doing unexpected things, maybe like an experience, right? This is I think where you really get to the part about emotions and evoking those feelings. It happens here. The picture of you and your wife at the house, that evokes a feeling. Whether you bought the house or not, you still bought a house. And you felt good, right? And now the sustained part. So that's chapter 6, and considered step 5. Jump to page 124. They talk about staying top of mind. Let's cue up, page. Staying top of mind. So sustain is the 5th step. The customer experience does not end at closing. It continues to build and sustain the customer relationship. Staying top of mind. You have worked hard as establishing trust with your customers. You have made them feel special. You've created a unique customer experience for them. They wrote a raving review for you. They are now your raving fans. You need to continue to maintain and nurture that relationship after the close. Invest into your business. So it goes back to this example earlier, remember I mentioned lab code agents, people are going on there asking, hey, I have $2,000 to spend, or should I, should I spend it on ads, should I spend it on postcards? No, spend it on your people. For $2,000, we'll use that as an example, I would rather spend maybe those same $2,000 over a quarter for like giveaways, or for one nice, amazing party to everybody that's my raving fan. You gotta look at who's my database, right? Like if I had a bunch of singles and married kids, type people, retirees and kids, I might have to do like different events. Maybe, I don't know, or find the right neutral event that's good for anybody to come to, and I would pour it into that. And at this event, I'm gonna make sure I connect with everybody. I'm gonna have a photographer there. I'm gonna have them taking pictures. I'm gonna have some feel-good moments there. People are gonna remember that. So like a real simple example of investing in your business, and it didn't take a time. One of the events I did my first year is wasn't even a barbecue, it was a burgers and hot dog at a free park, a local park, off of Corkscrew. I did Corkscrew because I was halfway between Naples and Lee County area. And it was just a pavilion at the park, next to the bathrooms, next to the kids' playground, open house style. Hey, we're gonna be here from 11 to 4, come in, get a burger, get hot dogs, some chips, get some mac and cheese, kids play area, we have games, we have giveaways for the kids. There, we went to Costco to buy all the supplies we needed for that, brought my girl from home. Well, we had a photographer, which was basically not really a photographer, a kid with a nice camera who wanted to be a photographer, but took decent enough pictures. I paid him $100, and sent everybody a copy of their pictures that they took with their families. The event cost me $600. And that's because I didn't have any vendors helping out. Now, if I were to do it, it'd probably be free, because most vendors would be like, hey, yeah, I'll pay for that. I'll be there and interact with the people.
I've done 5 customer appreciation events, and at the end of it, I never end up paying for any of it. Because my lender pays for it, I'll have 2 title companies pay for it, and I ask all my customers to bring somebody that might be looking for a property.
Yeah. Exactly. And of course, we have a referral.
Yeah.
And they're always gonna ask you how your business is doing.
I get something.
And whether your business is doing horrible, they're gonna assume it's great, because they have all the people here.
Yeah.
So, that's where I would invest, when I see investors, that's what I see. Jump to page 127, I'm gonna start out with the sub here, I have less than 10. 127, let's see, hold on. There was a video on 125, again, we just don't have the time to watch that full video, but the video was called, they'll remember me when they go to sell. They don't think of you, unless you've done something to be purposeful to stay top of mind in their eyes. Page 127, let's see what. Page 127, talks about communicate regularly, and it talks about the 33 touch, which is now technically considered the 36 touch. And we'll wrap up with this. Do you guys already know what the 36 touch is? Anybody know what it is? 36 touch is how you nurture a relationship with your database over 12 months. So think nurture database over 12 months through minimum of 36 touches. What are those touches? They're 26 emails. There are 4 calls a year. There are 4 mailers.
How many emails?
26. And there are 2 events invites. That's what makes up the 36 touch. However, if you were to do the math, you would realize that it's actually going to end up ultimately being more than 36 touches, because each event, for example, might be 4 to 8 touches each event, just to invite them and get them there. The mailers are not even including birthdays. A birthday alone is easily 4 to 5 touches if you use the birthday campaign command. What does the birthday campaign command have you do? It has you send them a birthday card, it has you call them the day before the birthday because no one else has called them yet. It has you go on their Facebook and write them something, or whatever social media platform, and it sends a text message. That's four, touch it right away, just on a birthday alone. So the reality is when you leverage command, when you leverage smart plans, you're ultimately gonna be touching people more than 36 times. The idea behind the 36 touch, when we think about sustaining your relationship with them, is just to get them not to forget about you. People are not thinking of you, after the closing. You're not the most important thing anymore. I have, and jump in if you, if this really, if you can relate. I have not. I have found out people have closed and done business with someone else even after they were my customer. But they even made it through that, even then still, maybe it wasn't enough, or maybe somebody else was jumped in, that just got into a tighter relationship. So even this is not bulletproof. Yet, the idea here is to take up the mind share in people's minds. Get them to think of you when it comes time to do real estate. That's the idea. Let's bring this home. Give me some takeaways. What did you guys, what was your favorite step? What was your ultimate takeaway? What is one thing that you feel like, hey, this is where I'm going to start to move in the direction of building out systems in my business that are on paper, spelled out, and I can hand it to somebody who joins my team, and now they know how we provide a great customer experience. What are your takeaways? And there are no takeaways. I do a bad job. So don't leave me feeling like I do a job. Takeaways.
I like the idea of having your expectations written down and then how the one that razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
I like the razzle dazzle.
People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. Rattle that. What's the word people use on Rizzo? Like Riz? Yeah, Riz. I don't know if you've seen that video of the guy who worked for Riz and Aaron. Did you see it?
I haven't seen that video, but I know you're
Yeah. Rizzo. What else? What else? Takeaways, things you want to implement.
Just building the systems and standards. Think a lot. Like, I don't know, just, new in the thing, and I'm trying to build a social media page that's professional, that leads to this, and the website, and the verbiage for the different things, and the command, which is way still on my head. And, trying to take the bigger picture and put it into action. So, and this, I think, is 5 steps to doing it.
Yeah. I've always found this interesting about real estate compared to the world I come from, retail. I would not be able to open up a Best Buy store without hiring my loss prevention guy, my cashier, my department manager, my sales associate, my warehouse team. Like, we have to have all the people and systems in place before we're even ready to grant the store. Yeah, with real estate, it's like, oh, what's our real estate? You do every aspect of the job today, just because that's what you just said. You do everything. And that's the reality of it. Now, Gary Keller in the book teaches us to lead with revenue. Meaning, don't go spend $1 million until you're making $1 million, right? Yet, I've known people that have taken the route of, hey, like who was it, math coach, I can't think of the name right now, that he comes from groceries, John Prescott. When he launched his team, he had everybody hired up and trained up, and then he launched the team. Now, maybe he was in this financial position to be able to do that. You gotta evaluate where you're at, because there are things that we're not gonna be great at. Technology may be one of them. Hey, we may not fully grasp how to do all that. That's where leverage comes in. We have to find that, and then there's that balance initially starting off of like, well, I have money to do it, and hey, now I have money to invest in proposals. So there's gonna be a little part in the beginning as if we just think of what you're feeling right now, where it's like, well, I gotta generate business first. I can't go spend $10,000 to go hire somebody just yet. So you have to take on you have to learn some pieces to the point where now you can leverage it all and have somebody who can do it even better. So I wish there was an easier answer or an easier way around all that. But the reality is you're starting a business, and whether it's a tool company, a law company, a tech company, it doesn't matter what it is, it's all the same problem. No, you're not, I'm not ready. Anyone else? One more takeaway, then we'll get out of here. One more. One more takeaway.
I like something I'm gonna institute is the buyers or sellers, what candy they like and what things like that. I actually lost the listing because somebody left the back door open, a sliding door, wide open. And the sellers were so upset about it, they fired it. But, yeah, it would have been nice if I would have had something like that.
Just, yeah,
Just to soften that blow.
yeah. Yeah, and I've seen some agents even incorporate that into the consultation of the listing form, and hey, judge me for, how I solve problems, because the reality is problems will come up. I can't control whether an agent, does or doesn't leave the door unlocked and get it. How I solve it. That sucks. Sounds like they didn't give you a chance to just fire you all.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
It was long for customers too, it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
But that was a high, so.
Man, male, what is it with the Karen? What do they call it? A male Karen?
I don't know.
Men have a name?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we're not being.
Yeah, but we can't see it in the room.
Guys, I appreciate you here. Thank you so much for making time to do with me. If I promised something, that I said I would send out, remind me. Sure I did. And let me know. I think I promised you guys the checklist, for opportunities. I think there was something else, so I think of it over. Thank you.
Thank you.